Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour. We're waiting this morning for Corey Richins, the Camas mother convicted of killing her husband before writing a children's book about losing a loved one, to find out how long she'll spend in prison. She was found guilty of aggravated murder and several other charges by a jury. Prosecutors and her 3 sons are asking she spend the rest of her life behind bars. Her sentencing hearing is scheduled to begin at 9:30. We'll have a team at the courthouse in Park City to bring you the latest coverage. Thousands of people are gathering in Washington, D.C. for National Police Week. This includes the loved ones of officers and fallen officers. From Utah, family members of Sergeant Lee Sorensen and Officer Eric Estrada are there. KSL's in Washington as well for the events, and we'll have more on the ceremonies and activities taking place today. Inside Sources will have a special hour of coverage in the line of duty that starts at 11 a.m. right here on KSL News Radio. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. President Trump is in China. He'll be visiting soon with President Xi Jinping and talking the war in Iran.
The Trump administration prior to this trip has made it clear that they want Beijing to use their leverage over Tehran to convince Iran to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. But what I'm hearing from experts is that China doesn't want to get drawn too deeply into this. They're happy to encourage an end to this war. They would prefer that it ends, but they don't want to get too involved because they really see this as America's problem to solve.
ABC News senior White House correspondent Selena Wang. Your money at this moment, the Dow down 245 points this morning to 49,511. Coming up, we've got emergency traffic on I-15 in Layton and other delay spots on your commute to still update. That's next. KSL News Time 9:01.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
Since 1947, Whipple Service Champions has been Utah's most trusted name for heating, cooling, plumbing, and electrical services. Got a high-priced repair bill from another company and you're just not sure about it? Call Whipple. Get a free, no-pressure estimate or bring us their quote for an honest second opinion, totally free. Whipple Service Champions, Utah's first place for second opinions since 1947. Call 385-273-7167 for your free estimate today. 385-273-7167.
Some of the most meaningful jewelry is the jewelry we never wear. It sits tucked away in a drawer. A ring from a grandmother, a pendant from years gone by. Pieces filled with stories, but not part of your everyday life. Duke's Jewelers believes those pieces deserve more. For over 75 years, Duke's Jewelers has helped families reimagine heirloom jewelry, transforming what once was into something you'll love wearing today and pass down tomorrow. Whether it's resetting a stone, redesigning a ring, or creating something entirely new, Duke's Jewelers will guide you through every step, right there in the store. And if you have jewelry that no longer fits your story, Duke's Jewelers also buys gold, offering a simple, transparent way to turn it into something meaningful again. Bring in what you have and create something you'll never want to take off. Duke's Jewelers on Main Street in Springville, where your story continues.
Serenity now! Serenity now!
Are you okay?
Okay, gas is up, groceries are up, everything up, up, up.
Not at Strong Volkswagen.
Strong Volkswagen.
Yeah, purchase any vehicle with a dime. One dime down.
What is the deal with dimes?
One dime down. Plus, oil changes at just $59.95 at Strong Volkswagen.
Just $59.95?
Or lease a new 2026 Jetta S. Just $235 a month. $235.
Fun fact, new Jetta get up to 42 mpg.
Even new all-wheel drive Atlas. Just $432 a month. $432.
And you get a lifetime warranty. Lifetime. But my own mother won't loan me money.
You're not getting the money! It's okay. If you got a job and a dime, you ride, mister.
This is great. I'm back, baby, during Volkswagen Driver Days.
At Strong Volkswagen. For over 70 years, Strong Volkswagen.
Located downtown.
StrongVW.com.
StrongVW.com. For details, call 801-596-2200.
KSL News Time is 9:05. We've got emergency traffic going this morning right now, brought to you by UCCU. Earn 4.24% on savings at UCCU.com. And here's Cormac Bone.
Emergency traffic due to a crash on southbound I-15 in Layton at Hillfield Road. blocking all but one lane, it looks like right now, and those delays stretch all the way back to SR 193 in Clearfield. We're also seeing normal southbound I-15 delays from the north interchange down to 600 north, and northbound I-15 slow from the point of the mountain up to Bangerter Highway and at the south interchange of Midvale. We also have heavy delays on northbound Bangerter Highway, and those are starting at 90th south and reach all the way up to just before 6200 south. That's due to a crash blocking a right lane. And we're seeing those delays stacking up as that crash has been blocking that right lane for quite some time. May is Skin Cancer Awareness Month, and Swinyer Woseth Dermatology is reminding you to take care of your skin. Visit dwoseth.com and schedule your body scan today. dwoseth.com. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, another hot day today and partly sunny, highs in the 90s. There is a small chance of thunderstorms this afternoon. Tomorrow, much cooler, highs only in the 70s. Right now, though, 79 degrees in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Good morning. Welcome to another edition of Inside Sources. I'm Greg Skordas alongside Holly Richardson. And Holly, I think you're going to enjoy this first subject because you've already told me you will. That is, will he run or will he stay? We're hearing some rumors that Senator John Curtis is being recruited or maybe talking about possibly running for Utah's governor in 2028. He hasn't confirmed, obviously, that yet, and maybe won't because he's still focusing on being in the Senate. And I think that's the standard remark for most individuals when they're thinking of something as, hey, I'm even like the coach, I'm focused on getting my team through this game, even though next year they're going to be coaching another team. So I don't know. I was interested in your take on that.
So, look, this is not the first time that the senator has been rumored to run or not run for a different office. But we have with us Sam Benson. He's a politics reporter at Politico. And I just have to say this, Sam, I'm sure that, like me, you have seen this kind of play before.
Yeah, I mean, it's well, Holly and Greg, it's great to be with both of you. This is obviously a story that I think has consumed a lot of the news cycle in Utah politics the last 48 hours or so. And it's because it's interesting, right? I mean, it's crazy to think that we're 2 years out from a potential Utah gubernatorial primary in 2028. We're 2.5 years out from a general election. It's wild to think that conversations are starting this early, but conversations are happening, and that's why we reported on it.
Sam, do you know where these or how these conversations started, or sort of what brought this on?
Yeah, so my reporting that listeners can find at Politico.com is essentially this. There's a group of Curtis's allies who are in Utah right now talking to donors and supporters to test the waters and encouraging Curtis to think about running for governor. And the reason that they're having these conversations this early, according to our reporting, is because former Congressman Jason Chaffetz, who of course left office back in I think 2017 or 2018, he's thinking about running. He's doing the same. He's trying to lock down commitments from donors and supporters, and essentially trying to clear the field really early. You all know that Senator Curtis back in 2023, when he was thinking about running for the Senate, that seat that Romney was going to vacate, he said he wouldn't run. He turned around a couple months later and decided to run, and of course won that seat. The rest is history. And he doesn't want to make the same mistake, right? And his supporters don't want him to see him do that either. And so if there's any chance of anybody besides Chaffetz garnering support from Utah's business class and donor class, they kind of need to start acting now. And I think that's the situation that Curtis and his allies find themselves in.
So, Sam, here's what's interesting to me. You've already mentioned it. This happened before when he was a representative. He first said he wasn't going to run for the Senate, and then later came back. Actually, that kind of let people get out there and start campaigning, and then he's like, okay, never mind, I am going to run. So it's not just Senator Curtis, though, because I will just say this. There's the Deseret News. After you published your article in Politico, Cami Mondo published an article that said, well, he's not really considering a run. Okay, so let me just say this from a political insider, a long time in this field. People will never commit until it's a firm yes or no, right? They're always going to say, well, right now I'm focused on my job. Right now I'm focused on what I'm doing. And I think he really does love what he's doing as a senator. But of course his answer is going to be, I'm not really thinking about that right now. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I won't speculate, but I can just kind of share where my reporting has led me. I mean, the senator put out a statement last night where he said that he's, quote, not spent a minute on plans to leave this office for another. If that's very carefully worded, obviously, like he wouldn't have to leave office to run for governor. He told Cami and others, that was a gaggle of reporters at the Capitol. He told folks there that he didn't go to the mountains to think about this. He also said it's inaccurate to say he's unhappy, like you said. In my reporting, several people that I spoke to said the Senate is just a tough place to be right now, especially as a pragmatic conservative who wants to get deals done. And multiple people close to the senator told me that it is hard for him and it's difficult. He, of course, denies that. I will mention that he hasn't denied, I think, the crux of the story, which is that he's getting a lot of pressure from people to think about this and run. His inner circle is doing all they can to lay the groundwork for that possibility, and he's actively considering it. And of course, like I mentioned, like it's crazy to think that we're 2 years from a potential primary. We're 2.5 years from a general election in 2028. Holly, 2 years ago, you and I were working at Deseret, and we just got that new soda machine. Like that's how long ago this is. So it's crazy to think of the cycle in that sense, but that's where we are. And the reason they have to get in this early is because other folks are already trying to lock down commitments.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to close the door, you have to keep it open somehow.
Yep.
I have to imagine, Sam, that he would run very, very well in a statewide race because I think independents and even some Democrats would find him to be very popular. But he's going to have a dogfight in the Republican Party, at least with the convention, just because of who shows up at those events. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I mean, it's impossible at this point to know what the field would look like in a potential 2028 primary. But you're right. I mean, kind of more pragmatic conservatives like Curtis or Governor Cox or Mitt Romney's predecessor have had a difficult time at convention. That said, Curtis has gone to convention before and won. Like he's well liked across the state and certainly would be a formidable candidate, as would others. I just think it's important to note that with all of these conversations, like we're so far out that we don't know what the field is shaping up to be or what it'll look like, and so much will depend. Other names that I've heard of, aside from former Congressman Chaffetz, that maybe are looking at it or that people are, have encouraged them to run, or that their names come up in these conversations, are folks like Speaker Mike Schultz, Lieutenant Governor Deidre Henderson, Rob Axton, who's the GOP chair, Brad Bonham, who's one of our national committeemen, Republican national committeemen from Utah, and a handful of others. So they're like any point in the cycle like this, where we're 2 years out, there are a lot of names floating, and it's hard to have an idea of how someone would fare at convention or among delegates until we know what the field actually looks like.
So, Sam, you say it is a long way out, and I partially agree with that, but I also, to your point, people are already trying to lock up donors and endorsements, and we're also talking about a presidential race in 2028, and of course people are starting to jockey for those positions, and they're even polling on who would do well in XYZ Republican primary, Democratic primary, et cetera, in 2028. So it's a never-ending cycle for sure, and we haven't even gotten to the Utah primaries for the 26th cycle yet.
It's true, yeah, and I mean, to that point, I think the one thing that folks in Curtis's inner circle are saying right now, and that they want to emphasize, is that the reason he's considering this is not necessarily, they say, because he's unhappy, but because his hand is being forced by others in the state who are starting to try and shore up support or kind of make an inevitability argument. Chaffetz, to his credit, is doing his best to go out to donors and to elected officials across the state and kind of rally support for his cause. And so if someone else like Curtis wants to keep the door open, they need to start doing the same.
Yeah.
I reported in the story that the ask that these people in Curtis's circle are making is essentially like, if there's a chance that Curtis runs, will you withhold your support for any other candidate? Basically, will you keep the door open as long as Curtis keeps the door open? And so those are the conversations that are happening. I anticipate this will continue to happen. Who knows how long they'll last. It's worth noting that Governor Cox when he was lieutenant governor, he was the first one to enter the 2020 race, and he did that in May of 2019. So if we subvert that calendar onto like our current calendar, we're still a year out from the quote unquote May 2019. That would be May of 2027.
Yeah.
So again, we're like very, very early, and Cox was the first, and I think it was several months before Huntsman and others entered that cycle. But yeah, things are moving. Conversations are being had across the state, and this is all moved into the open now.
All right. Thanks so much for joining us. That was Sam Benson with Politico. And look, the debate over the data center in Box Elder County continues to intensify. There's a lot of misinformation. We're going to separate fact from fiction when we come back.
22 pounds in 35 days. That's what I've lost on SOTA Diet Nutrition. Today was my 5-week checkup, 35 days into the run, and I have lost 22 pounds, way more than I expected, and almost to my goal in just one short month. I contacted SOTA, S-O-T-A, Diet Nutrition, about 2 months ago and said, look, whatever I'm doing isn't working because I'm trying to lose weight, and nothing is coming off. I didn't want to take pills. I didn't want to get any injections. I didn't want to do anything fad-oriented. I wanted to do something food-oriented, and they hooked me up with a nutritionist and a coach. She calls me every week. She kind of scolds me every week and says, what are you doing? How are you following the program? Even I fill out a form periodically about what I'm eating and what I'm doing, and she'll say, try this, try that. It's worked for me. It'll work for you. SOTA Diet and Nutrition, S-O-T-A, SOTADietNutrition.com. My wife is on board. She's helping me prepare meals now that we can both eat, we can both enjoy. I'm not hungry. I'm losing weight. SOTA Diet Nutrition. Join us for a short time to have results that last a lifetime.
This is Nate Orchard from Advanced Window Products. When you live in Utah, your windows do a lot more than let the light in. They protect your home from freezing winters, blazing summers, and everything in between. That's why Advanced Window Products builds every window for your local climate. No middleman, no out-of-state delays, just factory direct quality, custom made for your home. Imagine a quieter home, a warmer home, a cooler home. Our high-efficiency vinyl windows are engineered to lower your energy bills and boost your comfort all year round. And installation is done by our own certified in-house crews, never subcontractors. That's why Utah homeowners give us 5-star reviews. Right now, take advantage of our anniversary sale. For a limited time, get $2,500 off when you buy 10 or more windows. Call 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100. For 40 years, Advanced Window Products has been the name Utah trusts for custom replacement windows and sliding glass doors. Advanced Window Products, built here, installed here, trusted here. Call 801-850-9100 for that $2,500 off, or visit us at advancedwindows.com to schedule your free in-home estimate.
This is the story of the one. As a procurement manager for a hospital system, she keeps every facility in her network stocked and ready. That's why she counts on Grainger to be her single source for thousands of products, from disinfectants to lighting, air filters, and more. And with fast, dependable delivery, Grainger helps her keep every facility stocked, safe, and running smoothly. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Join us at Camping World's Red, White, and New Trade event, our biggest trade event of the year, May 14th through the 17th. Trade in your RV and get the highest value guaranteed. Then upgrade for less with new RVs starting as low as $94 a month. Plus, take 25% off select maintenance services. Save up to 40% on camp-ready must-haves. And enter to win a new RV. Don't miss the Red, White, and New Trade event at your local Camping World, May 14th through the 17th. We'll see you there.
Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors. And let's face it, it's time to update the look of your home's exterior. When was that thing built? In the 50s, 70s, 90s, the 2000s? Well, it's looking like it. Faded siding, drafty windows, leaky gutters. It's time to take action now. RGS Exteriors has been taking Utah homes from drab to fab for over 5 generations. We only use the highest quality materials, like James Hardy siding and gutter topper gutter covers. You will be blown away by how much different and better and awesome your house can look. Your neighbors will be jealous, your home value will go up, and most of all, you're going to love it. Everything we do comes with our industry-leading 10-year everything guarantee, so you can sleep like a baby, knowing if anything goes wrong, you're 100% covered. For a free estimate on your gutters, windows, siding, or anything on your outside of your home, call RGS Exteriors at 801-280-3110 or visit us at rgsexteriorsutah.com. That's rgsexteriorsutah.com.
As the #1 small business lender, Zions Bank helps entrepreneurs reach and exceed their goals. Visit your local branch or zionsbank.com/SBA. Equal housing lender.
And expanded Inside Sources.
Well, if you've been following the massive data center proposal in Box Elder County over the last 2 weeks, you've probably heard a lot of claims. One, it'll be good for jobs. It'll hurt the Great Salt Lake. It'll raise energy prices. There's so much more, and we keep hearing these various things about this data center.
But we want to know, there has been, as you mentioned, so much has come out, but we want to know what is true and what is not true and what is maybe somewhere in the middle, we don't know for sure. So one of the things we don't know for sure is how much water this thing is going to use.
Right. Yes. And because at times we're told different things.
Yeah.
And I'm not blaming anyone because maybe their information isn't all that accurate at this point. But is it going to use a pond that is recycled water all the time? Is it going to use culinary water? Is it going to use water that's not fit for anything, even agriculture, salty water? Not that necessarily makes a difference in terms of what ends up in the Great Salt Lake, but it could make a difference in terms of the community's water supply and what the people in Box Elder County are going to miss out on. So that's a huge problem. And right now, something that uses any water or drains any water out of the Great Salt Lake or prevents it getting into the Great Salt Lake, I should say, is a problem because the lake's drying up.
It's an interesting just back and forth, even with who has been present at meetings. So Shark Tank investor Kevin O'Leary, this is from the Deseret News. They're doing a back and forth with, fact versus fiction. But Kevin O'Leary said, well, I met with House Speaker Mike Schultz, but Mike Schultz says, well, I wasn't at that meeting. Yeah. So he says he's still looking into the project, right? It is interesting about right now we have a lot of opinions. That's what I mean about in between, right? Is we think we have information about what it might do to air quality, but we don't have surveys yet. We think we might have an idea what it will do to water, but we don't actually know for sure. So you have to know this too. Utah has 48 operational data centers right now, but Texas has 3,000. And of those, 700 are hyperscale data centers, which have more than 5,000 servers and consume more than 50 megawatts of power, which is just mind-blowing. Because this one would be a hyperscale, and it would consume 9 gigawatts of power, which is more than double what the state currently uses. But they're supposed to be able to produce their own energy.
You also have to wonder why they needed such a big tract of land to put a building on. 40,000 acres. You mentioned yesterday that there's a huge facility in Georgia that uses something like 900 or 600 acres. I mean, it was just a fraction of what
just a fraction. And they're getting pushed back there too, right? So it's interesting, right, that you've got people on I guess there is a both sides of this. There are people who are saying, look, we need data centers. We need to be able to have more, I guess, power and infrastructure for what we use. But again, it's part of the question is process. We know that has been an issue. There are also claims that it is expected to provide 2,000 jobs, but that's a question also where people are saying, I don't think there's actually that many jobs that will be available.
I'm thinking potentially 2,000 to build it all out, and then everybody goes somewhere else.
What they're saying is those are the permanent jobs,
yeah,
right?
That
those
doesn't
will
make
be
sense.
the
Right.
2,000 permanent jobs. Well, then you start to have, okay, well, what about it's not just now the data center, then it becomes how do you build housing and provide for schools and roads and water for 2,000 new permanent employees
right.
in that area, right? And that's part of the conversation that I don't think has happened yet.
Right. It's in Box Elder County. It sounds like the northern part of Box Elder County, north of Tremont and Garland, as you're heading into Idaho. It was sort of the picture I had in my mind of where it is, a 40,000 acre tract of land. It's called Hansel Valley, which if you're familiar with Box Elder County, you may know exactly where that is, but I'm not sure where that is, except that we had someone describe it to us recently. But it's vacant land right now. It's grazing land. It's open, doesn't have anything on it that I can see from any of the pictures. But still, 40,000 acres tied up with something like this could be significant. I mean, it will be significant, no question.
And it's not 40,000 contiguous acres either. It's like it's separate sections, but still, I mean, it's a huge tract of acreage. So when you're talking about environmental impact, we had a professor last week. His name is Rob Davies, Utah State University professor. He did an analysis on the project's environmental impact if it's powered solely by natural gas, which, if you remember, that's one of the things we've said. Hey, look, there's confusing messages here, but if it were powered solely by natural gas, he said the project would generate 16 gigawatts of thermal load and produce what he called extreme ecological impacts. But the very same day, O'Leary, who's the investor, posted a video to X and said, well, there are air-cooled turbines now and different ways to generate power. So we can do multiple different ways of generating power.
This situation has generated a lot of mistrust, and it's kind of what we're talking about here, fact from fiction. The people in Box Elder County are getting more and more concerned about it, and it's a conservative community.
Yeah.
Let's face it. The county commission unanimously approved at least the resolution part of it. They didn't approve the whole project, and they made clear about that. And at a public hearing, which was attended at the fairgrounds because they needed this extra space for as many people as possible. But then after that, we started getting, and you mentioned this, floods of letters coming in, complaint letters, and so the builders, the project managers, pulled their request for water permit, which meant we don't consider the letters.
It means that we're not looking at 6,000 letters of protest, right? So it's actually 3,800 official letters of protest with a $15 filing fee for each one, and 2,000 letters of concern, I think, is how they technically labeled them. But yeah, that's also the case. And then there's some additional information with new water laws that have gone into effect because on the May 6th date. So one of the things that some people are saying is that because they pulled this application when they reapply, then the new law will apply where it hadn't before. And the new law is even friendlier towards these types of developments.
Here was another study or finding that we found really interesting, or at least I did, that the great majority of the residents of Box Elder County are against this.
Oh,
and people.
I think you told me it's like 2% supported or something.
Right? Yeah.
It's not a
it
lot.
was like 70% were against. 28% didn't know how to feel, and 2% were in favor. That sort of flies in the face of what we were hearing about the protesters and the people that were concerned. We had heard rumor that someone thought they were being bussed in or shuttled in.
Yeah.
That they were having to pay people to come in and protest it because of the rank and file residents up there thought it was a great idea. That doesn't seem to be true either. I think people up in Box Elder County, and maybe because they feel like this has been sort of pushed on them, maybe some people say, well, if we could at least talk about it before you just build it, we may feel better. But right now, this project seems to be in a little bit of morass. I don't know whether it's salvageable.
Well, one of the things, too, is that Box Elder County residents are applying to put a referendum on the ballot in November for voters in that area to overturn the approval, which they have the right to do. So they've applied to add this referendum. They would have to go get signatures, and if they do, they'll need more than 5,000 signatures from the Box Elder County. But that's another thing that people are trying, which is, I guess, to your point, right, are these protesters that are, quote, paid protesters and bussed in from out of state? I think that this would say, no, they're not.
Right, yeah. Well, certainly if they got 5,000 signatures in one of the smallest high population counties in the state, they're doing something right and then putting it on the ballot.
And we don't know yet, right? But they're
Thing.
applying. Yeah,
right,
they're
yes.
applying to say, look, we need to have a voice, and this is one way we can try to exercise that. But you also know the bar is very high to do a citizens referendum and have it be successful and stay.
We did talk about this earlier in the week, that, and I think it holds true now, that the people that were behind this and the people who were planning this may have miscalculated or underestimated the resistance they were going to get. And anytime you have environmental issues, especially in this day and age, there's going to be some resistance. But wow, it's taken on a life of its own.
So while this project is moving ahead, and I'll say maybe it's a little slower than they originally hoped, the man behind the project, while he continues to take jabs at people opposed to the project, he has claimed that there are Chinese spies behind the opposition, and we're going to chat with one of those alleged Chinese communist spies when we come back.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour. Fire risk is high in several parts of the state today. KSL News Radio's Reagan Edelman explains.
Fire weather watch warnings are issued for both Iron and Washington County, meaning high winds, low humidity, and extreme heat. And throughout the state, some red flag warnings as well, all pointing to high fire risk. Carl Hunt with the Utah Division of Forest Services says everyone should practice fire sense, even if you're not in a high-risk area, because the best way to fight fires is to prevent fires.
Hunt says anytime there are high winds, there's a higher potential for wildfires. Ogden residents can track the city's air quality at any particular day or time thanks to the city's recently installed air monitors. These monitors track PM10, which is dust from the Great Salt Lake, and any other pollutants in the air. In real time, residents can visit the monitor's live data feed that shows exactly what is in the air they're breathing. A local race called Running Up for Air raised the necessary funds to purchase these air monitors and collaborated with the city and Weber State's sustainability team to install them. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. A new report says more immigrants are choosing to leave the United States voluntarily as immigration enforcement intensifies under Donald Trump. It suggests fear of detention and deportation may be driving many to give up their cases. ABC's Dave Packer reports.
The Vera Institute of Justice says voluntary departures in immigration court have surged during the Trump administration's crackdown on immigration. The group says the number jumped from about 800 a month at the end of the Biden administration to nearly 9,000 by February. The researchers say many people accepting those departures may still qualify to remain legally in the United States, but harsh detention conditions and limited access to lawyers are pushing them to leave anyway. Dave Packer, ABC News.
Your money at this moment, the Dow down 229 points to 49,530. Coming up, we've got emergency traffic affecting drivers southbound from Clearfield down into, actually maybe further north than that, down into Layton. We'll check that coming up next. KSL News Time, 9:31.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
You deserve a home that's truly your sanctuary. Why are you waiting? Dreammaker Bath and Kitchen helps turn someday into today. A space that works and feels like you. Because design and build live under one roof, your remodel experience stays organized. From the first discovery consultation to the final walkthrough, with one team from start to finish. You deserve a home that you can truly be happy in. And that's possible right now. A clear, structured timeline keeps guesswork out of your kitchen or bath project, and it starts with your budget and a fixed price. Then the detailed plan begins with smart and stylish selections, so you know exactly what to expect. Dreammaker Bath and Kitchen is built on integrity and customer focus, and that shows up in the little things, clean job sites, and proactive updates that keep you fully in the loop. Back nationally and 3 locally owned Wasatch Front locations. Schedule a consultation at dreammaker-remodel.com. That's dreammaker-remodel.com. Enhancing lives, improving homes. dreammaker-remodel.com.
I'm Utah tax attorney Jordan Wilcox. Don't face the IRS alone.
I was self-employed, and I got behind on my taxes. And then 1 year became 2 years and 3 years, and $116,535.47 to be exact. It just became overwhelming. Finally, I went to another tax company, and they were more interested in how good they were than helping me. I heard about Jordan and talking to the other people who'd done and been in the same situations that I was in, and their tax problems seemed just like mine. And so I went to Jordan, and it was amazing. They were able to negotiate it down to $5,200, and life became wonderful to me.
Don't face the IRS alone. You need a tax attorney that's not afraid to fight for you. Visit endtaxworry.com to schedule your free consultation. That's endtaxworry.com.
I will be forever grateful.
I remember brushing my hair and looking down and thinking, oh my gosh, do I have any hair left?
I used to look at women with thick, beautiful hair and think, why doesn't my hair look like that?
My thinning hair is making me feel so old.
If you want thick, healthy, gorgeous hair, then you need Hair Volume from New Nordic. With clinically proven ingredients like apple extract, biotin, and millet, Hair Volume nourishes your hair follicles to promote thicker, healthier-looking hair. Say goodbye to shedding, thin, and dull hair, and hello to thick, healthy hair with Hair Volume.
Since taking Hair Volume, The shedding has all but stopped.
Now, instead of being jealous of other women's hair, I have friends who are jealous of mine.
My hairdresser couldn't believe the difference in my hair. Now she's using Hair Volume 2.
Available as a tablet or delicious gummy, Hair Volume is available online at Amazon and NewNordicUSA.com, or find Hair Volume in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
Emergency traffic brought to you by UCCU. Build smart, save big with construction loans at UCCU. Let's get an update from Cormac Bone.
Stop and go delays on southbound I-15 from 650 north in Clearfield all the way down to Hillfield Road in Layton. That's due to a crash that was blocking multiple lanes. And now it looks like they've opened up a couple more lanes, so hopefully those delays start to ease out, but it is still very slow from Clearfield into Layton on southbound I-15. Eastbound I-80 also seeing some heavy delays getting into Parley's Canyon. That's due to a crash that's just after you get into the canyon. They were blocking a right lane and shoulder. They pulled away only moments ago, so hopefully those delays start to clear out as well. Northbound I-15 still just a little bit of slowdowns at the south interchange. Spring has blossomed in Box Elder County. History, recreation, and wildlife and excellent dining and shopping await you. Learn more at visitboxeldercounty.com. Produced in cooperation with the Utah Office of Tourism. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather today, another hot one. Partly sunny with highs in the 90s. There's a small chance of thunderstorms in the afternoon. Tomorrow, though, much cooler. Highs in the 70s. Right now, it is 81 degrees and mostly cloudy in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at KSLNewsRadio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Kevin O'Leary, the man behind the massive data center coming to Box Elder County, at least on track to come, has made some pretty serious claims about people opposed to the project.
At first, we heard from him that he was saying some of the people that were protesting were being paid and we were being bussed in.
And now he's saying they're agents of the Chinese Communist Party.
This week, O'Leary went on Fox Business to call out a few Utahns he says are being paid by the Chinese to oppose the data center. We're going to get reaction from one of those in just a minute. But first, let's hear exactly what he said.
Who would want us to stop building our electrical grid? Who would want to stop us from having compute capacity to develop AI? Which adversary would want that? There's only one. It's China. And so they can't use TikTok anymore to put out all the, whatever misinformation they were doing there. So what I think is happening, and I've got some interesting data for you. This is from last night at 5 o'clock. So when we had the announcement, a unanimous vote by the commissioners in Box Elder County on the project there, we noticed an immediate spike in misinformation on two platforms, Instagram and X, formerly Twitter. So we dug in. I got my guys to go a deep dig into the IP addresses, and here's what we found out. This is fascinating. Party for Socialism and Liberation, run by somebody called Nivelle Singham, pounding our social media with misinformation about Utah. For example, we're not using any electricity off the grid, Bernie. We're developing our own power, and then we're going to sell it back to the grid to support the people of Utah and the whole U.S. But wait, we found two cells inside of Utah. Alliance for a Better Utah. Taylor Kanosh maybe, and Josh Cantor. Who are you guys, and why are you spewing all this misinformation out? You say for a better Utah? Why wouldn't you want national defense in Utah? Why wouldn't you want compute power? Lastly, Elevate Strategies, also a cell operating inside of Utah. Gabby Finlayson. Gabby, what are you doing? And who's paying you? So what I'm doing right now is, after getting this data, I'm calling out Taylor, Josh, and Gabby, operating in Utah. I want a forensic audit of who's funding their platforms. Who is it? Are they working with the Party for Socialism and Liberation and the People's Dispatch? Because the content looks almost identical. And so why is this happening across America? Why every time we announce national defense in terms of giving us compute power, do we get pounded by all of these IP addresses? So these are proxies for the Chinese government's my argument. And if they're not, because I want them to be able to defend their name, Taylor, Josh, and Gabby, come out wherever you are. Let's audit your books and let's show the people of Utah you actually care about them.
So we have with us Gabby Finlayson, Senior Partner at Elevate Strategies. Thanks for joining us, Gabby.
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
So my very first question, are you a member of the Chinese Communist Party?
No, I am not. And I will be honest, that is not a question that I thought that I'd have to answer in my career, but no.
So Gabby, what is going on here? And tell us about Elevate. Of course, I know I'm very familiar with Elevate Strategies, but tell our listeners what it is that you all do and how it is that you're involved, if at all, in this project.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are a political consulting firm. We mostly help Democrats, progressives, some independents, and organizations with any electoral matters. So if folks are running for office, if they have a ballot initiative, things like that, we try and help them, do a good job on their campaign. We also make content online at Elevate Utah. So we do content on TikTok and Instagram and Substack. And that's where I think most people know us from. And our whole goal is to just give Utahns more information about what's going on in their state, because I think, as you all know, as well as anybody, it's really hard for people to keep track of what's going on nationally, let alone at the state and local level. And so we try and give people as much information as possible. And so we started talking about this data center, of course, since it is such a big topic of conversation in Utah. But we are not involved in any way officially with anything to do with this project. We just were repeating previously reported facts and information about the data center.
So, Gabby, do you have any idea why Kevin O'Leary went after you and specifically called you out by name?
I don't. That is a great question for Kevin O'Leary himself. I think, because we are folks with a platform, I think that's probably part of it. We also have, really great followers and a great community. I think a lot of folks were tagging Kevin O'Leary directly from our previous content. But I really don't know. I have no idea how he decided to pick on my name specifically, why he decided to call out Alliance for a Better Utah specifically, because there are also a lot of other organizations that also are opposed to this project, whether it's environmental groups or ranchers and hunters and fishers and folks like that. And so no idea how I came across his radar, but happy to be here, I suppose.
We're speaking with Gabby Finlayson, Senior Partner at Elevate Strategies. And Gabby, have you had any blowback personally as a result of this? I mean, have people contacted you either that know you or maybe don't and asked the same thing he's saying, come out wherever you are? I mean, what's been your friends and others' response?
Yeah, I think the good news for us on this front is that I think these claims are so outrageously untrue and sound so kind of funny and silly to a lot of people that most of the conversation that people have had with me has been kind of laughing about this claim that he's making. And, we say a lot of things online and people have a lot of opinions about that, but this has been one of the only times that we have talked about a really big issue and had almost the entire public of the state on our side on this issue, because, this is certainly not a partisan issue. I think that people across the state for a variety of reasons are opposed to this project. So I have not had anyone seriously concerned about the claims that he was making or seriously thinking that we were operatives for the Chinese Communist Party. But I have had a lot of folks reaching out, and we have had a lot of people reaching out also to ask how they can support what we're doing, because they were so upset and offended by what he chose to do on national television.
When Kevin O'Leary mentioned your name, Gabby, he also mentioned two others who are not associated with Elevate, I don't think. But do you know anything about those two names, those two people, or where they are, what they're doing, and how they're involved in this, if at all?
Yeah, I think, similarly to us, Alliance for a Better Utah is not directly involved with the project. They are just another organization that is trying to call attention to, good government and what's going on in our state. One of the individuals that was mentioned was the former executive director of the organization and is no longer with them. And then Josh Cantor is someone that was one of the original founders, I believe, of Alliance for a Better Utah over a decade ago, and is, I think, involved in some ways through the board maybe, but I, as far as I know, I don't believe either of them have any official ties to this project similar to us.
All right. Thank you so much, Gabby, for setting the record straight. That was Gabby Finlayson, Senior Partner at Elevate Strategies.
And
now you know.
Yeah, interesting. Well, we cleared the air on that. That's got to be difficult for her personally, but she was a good sport about it and then joined us, and that was great. Coming up next on Inside Sources.
The rise of artificial intelligence is the next industrial revolution.
speaker at a university in Florida who was actually booed during her commencement speech about claims of AI. We're going to talk about this when we come back. Stay with us.
If you're ready to buy a home or sell a home and you're worried about the current real estate market because of what you've heard from some of your friends or family, well, we're here to tell you that you really shouldn't be worried because now is a great time to buy and sell with our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Omada Real Estate.
And here's why. Buyers have more options due to increased inventory, which gives them the power to negotiate for repairs, interest rate buy downs, and closing cost assistance. While at the same time, sellers are still getting top dollar for their homes, with home values that are higher today than ever before. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, the current real estate market presents a win-win opportunity for both buyers and sellers.
But you still do want to make sure that you're working with a team of real estate experts you can trust that can get you some great results. And that's our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Omada Real Estate.
They have helped thousands of Salt Lake City homeowners, and they're ready to help you. To get started, just go to thesternteam.com. That's thesternteam.com, or Google The Stern Team. At KSL News Radio, we have a 30-year legacy of honoring Utah teachers, but we can't do it without your help. Please tell us about an important teacher in your life on the KSL Teacher Tribute Wall, presented by Cypress Credit Union. Each month, one lucky teacher wins a $500 gift card from Cypress Credit Union, a $250 gift card to Harmon's, plus season tickets to Hale Center Theater. Say thanks to your teacher today at kslnewsradio.com/teacher from Cypress Credit Union and KSL News Radio.
What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and if you have a drain that's clogged or backed up, after you've tried the plungers and products, the next step usually involves some kind of drain snake or cabling equipment. You see, sometimes the blockage is far enough down the line that you need special equipment that most homeowners just don't have. That's where the Drains Department at Any Hour Services can help. A drain snake can clear most blockages and get the water flowing again, and clearing blocked drains is what our Drains Department does day in and day out. So if you're a homeowner with a drain line that's clogged or backed up and you'd like one of our drain technicians to come and snake the line for you, it's only $29. Yep, you heard that right. Any Hour Services will snake any drain line with normal access for only $29. Sinks, showers, tubs, toilets, floor drains, laundry drains, even that sewer main line that connects to the city. We'll snake any line for just $29. For help with your drain issues, call Any Hour Services at 801-443-7700. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Welcome to J&J Nursery, Utah's largest producing nursery. That means they grow more, so you get the best selection, freshest plants, and unbeatable quality, straight from their nursery to your home. They're open year-round, offering everything from stunning outdoor plants to lush indoor greenery, unique home decor and gifts, and all the nursery and garden supplies you need to grow something amazing. J&J Garden Center in Layton. Just take the Layton Parkway exit to Main Street and head west on Gentile.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance tech at a university, he knows ordering from multiple suppliers takes time away from keeping their arena up and running. That's why he counts on Grainger to get everything he needs, from lighting and HVAC parts to plumbing supplies, all in one place. And with fast, dependable delivery, he's stocked and ready for the next tip-off. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Workdays can be unpredictable, but your workwear shouldn't be. With the Cintas Apparel Plus program, you'll have freshly laundered garments for everyone on your team delivered every week. Cintas has workwear for just about any job imaginable, with high-performance fabrics and an uncompromising fit that stretches and moves with you. Don't leave looking and feeling good to chance. Visit Cintas.com.
Oh, I'm ready!
And get ready for the workday.
Help Temple-bound youth prepare for and better understand their next chapter. Give them a new short booklet, Your Guide to the Temple Endowment, to help them know what to expect for their first temple visit at DeseretBook.com.
When American troops withdrew from Afghanistan in 2021, thousands of evacuees fled to the U.S. for protection. Many Americans welcomed their new neighbors.
For the last week, the governor tells me his office has been getting calls nonstop with Utahns wanting to help.
When we saw the pictures and the videos coming out of Afghanistan, we prayed to be able to help them.
But then, what happened? Listen to Stranger Becomes Neighbor. wherever you get your podcasts.
Over the years, you've brought opioids into your home. They helped when you were in pain, and you held on to them just in case. But holding on to opioids puts your family at risk. Learn more at www.fda.gov/drug disposal.
And expanded Inside Sources. Inside Sources.
Usually when someone speaks at a graduation, you would expect them to inspire the students.
One real estate executive in Florida got an unexpected surprise when she decided to praise the expansion of artificial intelligence.
Yeah, I think she didn't guess very well how that was going to go over with the students.
Yeah, it didn't go over well.
Yeah, let's take a listen.
Change is exciting, very exciting, and let's face it, change can be daunting. The rise of artificial intelligence is the next industrial revolution. Whoa. What happened? Okay, I struck a chord. May I finish? Only a few years ago, AI was not a factor in our lives. Okay, all right. Okay, we've got a bipolar topic here, I see. Okay.
And she's sort of locked into her speech there. She should have realized real early on this was not a winning subject for her. But like most of us, she prepares a speech and then she wanted to continue it, and it wasn't getting any better for her the further down that road she went.
And I saw a little video of it, and she literally turns like away from the podium, and she's like, "What just happened here?"
Yeah.
And I think, look, I just gave a convocation speech, and I talked about AI. I did not get booed, but if you notice where they were applauding and booing, they applauded when she said AI wasn't a factor in our lives just a few years ago. But I think the concern for new grads, I mean, news story after news story after news story are saying entry-level jobs for college grads are going to AI.
Right, and I think that a lot of these grads are thinking, why are we cheering something that's potentially taking away our livelihood? I mean, it's the enemy to a lot of college graduates. It's what's going to make it much more difficult, or somewhat more difficult, for them to find jobs, because some of their jobs, prospective jobs, are being taken away by artificial intelligence.
And I think there's a pivot, and to her credit, she did continue with her speech, and to the students' credit, they stopped booing her. But she did talk about how it was similar when the internet was just beginning, right? People were uncertain. How is this going to change our lives? How is it going to impact the world? And she didn't mention this, but in 2008, during the recession, the last big recession, college students who were graduating were entering into a really uncertain job market, right? And it took them longer, and it was harder to find jobs. And I'll just say that these students have some real anxieties. And for this commencement speaker to go in and not understand, at least seemingly not understand the source of some of their consternation, and then launch into praising what they consider maybe problematic, was problematic.
Yeah, and I think that maybe the message was a problem when she said artificial intelligence is the next industrial revolution.
Yeah.
I mean, you can say artificial, like maybe you did. I don't know what you said, but you didn't strike this chord.
I just said ChatGPT is only 3.5 years old, and these students are going to have to pivot. And I told them that.
Right.
You're going to have to pivot in your
Right,
career.
which is the message I think you want to give,
Yeah.
Not, hey, it's the next industrial
the next
revolution.
greatest thing.
You guys are all going to be without work. I mean, and then she kind of gets off topic a little bit, and she goes, well, just a few years ago, it wasn't even a factor in our lives, and they all cheer.
Right.
Okay, so
right.
She's going down a bad road.
I think again, look, I feel for her. You never want to be booed when you're standing up and speaking, but Harvard Kennedy School of Business, right? They polled just last year, and a majority of recent college grads view AI as a direct threat to their job prospects. I mean, I feel like she should have known that going in. I feel like as a real estate agent, like why, first of all, why was she there speaking? Maybe she does use AI in her own career, but to me, when you're going to a college graduation, although I will say, I told the students that listened to me, look, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. It's hard out there right now, right? And it is, and things are going to end for them, whether that's a relationship or a job or a, whatever. She went in to praise something that these kids are scared of about.
Right, and for good reason. And artificial intelligence has been so interesting. And we've talked about it so much on this show, pros and cons.
Yeah.
Because I would have guessed a year ago there would be few of any cons to it. I mean, to me, learning about artificial intelligence at the beginning, the thing that I thought that was the most problematic. In fact, the only thing I thought was problematic was that it just would allow people to cheat. Write me a paper about Edgar Allan Poe, and all of a sudden you got ChatGPT writing it.
Yeah.
That's the only paper I ever wrote in high school, by the way. So it was boring. But anyway, so you think, okay, that's the problem because teachers aren't going to know if they're reading something accurate or not. But generally, it spits out good information. Well, we're learning more and more. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's going to take jobs away. Maybe it's doing all kinds of things that we didn't expect, and maybe it's going in a direction that we didn't know. I mean, it's a huge part of our psyche right now. And I don't know that it's the next industrial revolution, but it's certainly the next couple years revolution.
And again, it's one of the things where you watch on social media and you just say, okay, could she have handled that better? Yes, she probably could have. Would other speakers in her position, would they have gone back to the speech she had already written, or do you think they would have pivoted?
Oh, I think she had every reason to pivot, but she didn't know to. I mean, it's easy to say that because she's got a speech written out, and it was really about, artificial intelligence being the next industrial revolution. So I imagine, have we played the entirety of the speech, we would have heard more boos and cheers, and I think the crowd was getting into it at some point, realizing that they were messing with her a little bit, and. She goes, I've got a bipolar topic here. I don't know that it was too bipolar. I think there were people
maybe toned up,
mostly against it. Yeah.
So let me tell you this, that she ended her speech. I think the students kind of calmed down, but she ended her speech by saying that AI has the potential to help us solve some of humanity's biggest problem. Right. I mean, and with your help, she said, but the the Orlando Weekly interviewed students there, and one student said this: to stand in front of a graduating class of artists and communicators and discuss Jeff Bezos and Howard Schultz is to spit on our efforts to flip the script. He was a graduate from the School of Communication and Media. He said, I'm embarrassed to have had to endure the most embarrassing, unskippable, tone-deaf, ad-like commencement. Boo to AI.
Yeah, I don't know if it was that bad, but they did kind of guess it wrong.
He finished with this. He said, it will not be the rise of AI that is the next industrial revolution. It will be the booers who refuse to take a check from the top 1% to present an empty agenda.
Yeah.
So, I mean, clearly they were opinionated, and it wasn't just one person.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know how she was chosen, some big real estate developer, maybe because she's successful and has.
That's
had
exactly how a lot of them
are
chosen.
That's a good good model to follow. But it'd be like saying, I've got a bunch of people in the back room that are going to take your jobs, and
let's cheer for them.
You should welcome them. Poor kid, I feel sorry for her.
We do have a texter reminding us that he's been saying for a couple of decades that technology is going to take jobs away. And I'll just say this, as we pivot at different points in history, jobs do change and some go away, but new ones also happen.
Speaking of pivot, this sentencing in Park City in Summit County on Corey Richins, she's the woman who has now been convicted by a jury of killing her husband, has started this morning. We've been tracking it a little bit, and the sentencings are not something that happen in 10 minutes, but it has begun. She was convicted by a jury about 2 months ago of aggravated murder of her husband, other sort of related counts. As that sentencing proceeds, we're going to join the court when we come back after this break and see what she ends up getting in terms of her sentence. Stay with us.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour. U.S. home prices just had their biggest one-year increase in more than a year, and Utah's home prices are rising even faster. Redfin says the average U.S. home price is now just over $396,000, up 2.5% from the year before. Utah's average home price is now more than $586,000, up 13% from a year ago. Gerrymandering is a hot topic right now, and Representative Blake Moore says it's up to the states to end the, quote, race to the bottom. He says a solution to end it should come from an agreement between the states, not Congress. He even suggested all 50 governors get together and agree on some basic guidelines. Our top national story this hour from ABC News, we're learning about the rescue off the coast of Florida, where a small plane crashed into the ocean and everyone survived.
The FAA saying it was a Beechcraft BE-30 that crashed into the ocean Tuesday, 50 miles east of Vero Beach, traveling between islands there in the Bahamas. Now, the Coast Guard swooped in there after the pilot declared an emergency and communication with the aircraft was lost. They located that downed plane and rescued everyone on board.
ABC's Gio Benitez reporting. Your money at this moment, the Dow down 219 points to 49,541. Coming up, it's going to be warm and windy today. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 10:01.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
I had the greatest experience this morning when I put my got dressed. I had to tighten my belt a little bit. I went to a notch that I haven't used in several years, and that's because I got on the Soda diet nutrition plan about a month ago and have lost weight. I've lost a significant amount of weight in just 1 month. Not everything I need to lose, but I'm well on my way. In fact, I've lost well over half, maybe even 3/4 of what my goal was. I got hooked up with Soda thanks to some people here at KSL who said, Greg, it works. You don't have to take pills. You don't have to take injections. The things that I was like, nah, I'm not ready for that yet. Not that they're bad. I just thought I want to try and do it myself based on diet. And that's what Soda Diet Nutrition is. It's a diet-based program. I have a coach who helps me really weekly go through my plan, what I'm eating, what I'm not eating, things I should avoid. And I followed that plan. I followed it really well. And I've lost so far in 35 days, 22 pounds, believe it or not. And I have the photographs to prove it. Remember, Soda Diet Nutrition, SOTA. Join us for a short time to have results that last a lifetime.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Ask yourself this question. Is it really worth holding on to that timeshare that you know you need to get rid of? Here's the truth. The average maintenance fee just went up over 17%. That could have been 117%, and there's nothing you can do about it. When you buy a timeshare, you give them a blank check for annual maintenance and assessment fees. I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. For 15 years, I've helped over 50,000 families cancel their timeshare. Not sell it, not transfer it, cancel it. Did you buy a timeshare because they told you it was a great investment and your maintenance fees would never go up? That's a lie. Are you ready to get rid of your timeshare once and for all? Simply call us and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit that explains all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your timeshare exit kit. 800-979-3535. That's 800-979-3535. 800-979-3535.
If you're ready to buy a home or sell a home and you're worried about the current real estate market because of what you've heard from some of your friends or family, well, We're here to tell you that you really shouldn't be worried because now is a great time to buy and sell with our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Omada Real Estate.
And here's why. Buyers have more options due to increased inventory, which gives them the power to negotiate for repairs, interest rate buy-downs, and closing cost assistance. While at the same time, sellers are still getting top dollar for their homes, with home values that are higher today than ever before. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, the current real estate market presents a win-win opportunity for both buyers and sellers.
But you still do want to make sure that you're working with a team of real estate experts you can trust that can get you some great results. And that's our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Omada Real Estate.
They have helped thousands of Salt Lake City homeowners, and they're ready to help you. To get started, just go to thesternteam.com. That's thesternteam.com, or Google The Stern Team.
Time for a check of traffic and weather together, brought to you by UCCU. You deserve to love where you bank. Here's Cormac Bone.
We do still see this crash on southbound I-15 at Hillfield Road in Layton, but they've opened up the lanes so drivers were able to get through. But those residual delays have moved south as drivers come into the construction zone from Kaysville into Farmington. So we've got scattered southbound I-15 delays that start all the way back in Clearfield and reach down toward just about before you get into Farmington. We also have heavy southbound Highway 89 delays from the mouth of Weber Canyon down toward SR 193. That's due to a crash that's blocking a right lane and shoulder. Otherwise, roadway's looking really good. No delays on I-15 from Provo all the way into Salt Lake. Traffic's rough, but your parking lot doesn't have to be. Keep it smoother than your summer playlist with GoPave Utah. GoPaveUtah.com. That's GoPaveUtah.com. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, we see a high around 90 today, so we don't escape the 90-degree highs till tomorrow because the winds are going to pick up with the cold front moving in tonight, so tomorrow we won't even get into the mid-70s. We could have a few pop-up thunderstorms as well. Right now it's 81 degrees in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at KSLNewsRadio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Well, the woman convicted of giving her husband a fatal dose of fentanyl and then writing a book about her grief will learn her fate today. Corey Richins is in a Summit County courtroom awaiting her sentencing right now. The father of the deceased, her husband, is speaking, and prior to that, Holly, we've had a couple of other sort of things that were being addressed by the court, not the least of which was the judge sort of dealing with the decorum issue and a request by the prosecution that he issue what's called a permanent protective order, restraining order, that she not contact the family. The judge says, I can't do that. It's not appropriate in this case. We went through a kind of a long conversation about that. But as is typical in a case like this, the prosecution gives its recommendation. They recommended the maximum, of course, that she get life in prison without the possibility of parole, and that she gets sort of consecutive sentences on everything else. We want to break right now for just a minute because it looks like one of Eric's sisters is about to address the court. She's walking to the podium right now. I'm not sure which one this is, but she's going to speak, and we're going to join that live as she approaches the podium. Of course, in any case like this, victims are allowed to speak. There are a number of them that are speaking, but I think this one's going to be very compelling.
Katie, good morning.
So as you know, I'm Katie, and I'm Eric's sister. To begin, there are a multitude of people who deserve credit and appreciation. Law enforcement agencies across the state of Utah, the Summit County Prosecutor's Office, the Medical Examiner's Office, expert witnesses who worked hand in hand with law enforcement, Eric's friends, Eric's co-workers, my friends and my family, our entire team of lawyers and experts in the civil lawsuit. There are far too many people to mention by name, and I suspect if I try to, I will inadvertently leave someone out. But to all of you, please know that this would not be possible without your efforts, your support, and the strength of the community that has stood beside us. Both my family and I are forever grateful to each of you. I am also very grateful to you, Your Honor, to this court for the dignified manner in which it presided over the trial, and to the members of the jury for faithfully performing their civic duties. Okay. Today is Eric's birthday. I stand before you because he can't. He was taken away from my dad, my sister, his nieces, his friends, our community, and worst of all, from his 3 amazing sons. Sorry. He was taken away from us by a person he should have been able to trust, the person he should have trusted most in the world, his wife. It's impossible to fully describe how devastating Eric's death and Corey's crimes have been to our family. Nearly every aspect of our lives has been permanently changed, and we have no choice but to live with those changes and with Eric's loss forever. Eric was a phenomenal brother, father, son, nephew, grandson, cousin, friend, and businessman. Eric and I were extremely close. We went through school together and navigated life side by side. Wherever Eric went, I was usually tagging along right behind. In school, Eric's nickname was Richie, and mine was Little Richie, a reflection on how inseparable we were. He wasn't just my brother. He was my constant, my protector, and one of my closest friends. Eric was the kind of father who anticipated his children's needs before they ever had to ask. He made sure they were always having fun, taught them how to be respectful and kind, and was constantly planning for their future. His mind and heart was always on his boys, always. Everything he did was for them. Eric was the very best uncle. He made his nieces, my daughters, feel truly special. He always found ways to have fun with them. He doted on them with love and attention. Eric was an incredible son, always there for my parents, stepping in without hesitation and helping in every way he could, without being asked. The bond he shared with my mom was truly special. We would often joke that the umbilical cord had never really been cut, but in truth, it spoke to the deep, unbreakable love they had for each other. This is who Eric truly was, a man defined by love, integrity, and unwavering devotion to his family. He is none of the things that Corey tried to portray him as. Those mischaracterizations were nothing more than a vile effort to deflect blame. And those mischaracterizations stand in stark contrast to the reality of the man we all knew and loved. Eric's life and his actions and the profound impact he had on those around him speak for themselves, and they tell a story of goodness, strength, and character that cannot be rewritten or diminished. The saddest part for me in all of this is that I got something with Eric that his sons never did: time. I feel cheated that I only got to spend a few decades with my brother, but I should feel lucky in comparison. As Eric's eldest son told me shortly after his dad's death, he and his brothers did not even get 10 years with their dad. It is devastating that Eric is not here to coach them, to work the family ranch with them, to teach them how to drive, to attend their high school graduation, to send them off to college, to see them get married, or to celebrate the births of his future grandchildren. His 3 sons are going to grow up and live nearly their entire lives without their dad. They're going to get to know their dad more from the stories we tell about them than their actual experiences. In all likelihood, by the time they are each 44 years old, which is how old Eric would be today, they will have little to no actual memories of Eric. And they have to go through life without their dad because their mother planned and carried out his murder. She could not have done anything more selfish or more cruel to those boys. In the place of a stable, secure, and loving home, Corey gave the boys permanent trauma. They were in the house the night she killed their father. They were awake. They knew that something terrible had happened to their dad. As we heard on the 911 call during trial, one of them even walked into Eric's bedroom, where Eric's body lay dead, poisoned by someone who his sons should have been able to unconditionally trust, love, and depend on. No child should have to bear that trauma. But Eric's 3 innocent sons will bear that burden, and they will bear it for the rest of their lives. Corey's selfishness and cruelty did not end with Eric's murder. In the time after Eric's death, Corey has done nothing but isolate, manipulate, deceive, and do harm to those boys. Almost immediately after Eric died, she cut them off completely from our family, from Eric's family. The isolation was calculated and strategic. Corey used the boys as bargaining chips with my dad. She repeatedly threatened not to let him see his grandsons unless he could convince me, as Eric's trustee of his trust, to capitulate to her legal demands and give her all the trust assets. While isolating the boys, Corey provided them with false and harmful information about me and my family. When DCFS took custody of the boys following Corey's arrest and asked where they would like to go, they expressed fear of my family. The fear was not based on reality, but on what they had been told. For over a year, Corey led them to believe that I hated them, that I was attempting to take Eric's money for myself, and that I intended for them to be left without support, that they would be homeless and starving. These statements were entirely false and had no basis in reality. Had they not been subjected to that influence, they would have known the truth. Prior to Eric's death, our families were very close. My daughters and his sons had strong friendships, and I had a meaningful individual relationship with each of my nephews. I spent time riding horses with one, helping another identify summer coding programs, and the youngest participated in ice skating lessons with my daughters. Our families shared holidays, worked together on our family ranch, took trips together, and I was present the day each of the boys were born in the hospital. The boys have expressed their confusion about these circumstances. They have stated that prior to their father's passing, both Eric and Corey frequently told them if anything were to happen, they should go with me, that I would care for them and support them. Following Eric's death, however, those messages changed. After Eric passed away, Corey prevented all contact between our family and the boys. She prohibited communication and continued to provide them with false information about us. When we were finally able to see the boys again, approximately 15 months after Eric's death, the boys hardly recognized the relationship we had. Instead, they viewed my family and me with fear and hesitation, as though we were strangers. Corey also went to great lengths to jeopardize the boys' financial futures. I know you are very aware of this. But among other things, she drained the personal bank accounts that Eric had set up for his boys as college funds. She allowed the boys' Social Security survivor benefits to be funneled to individuals who were not taking care of the boys. And she sued me in my role as Eric's trustee and personal representative, not once, not twice, but 3 separate times. The goal of her lawsuits is singular. She wants all of Eric's assets for herself. Despite her lies and fanciful public portrayal, she knows that none of Eric's assets are going to me, my dad, or my sister. In fact, she knows exactly where Eric wanted everything to go, and that is to his boys. And yet, for 4 years, she has aggressively tried to take their inheritance from them. Even now, despite her erroneous debt, a murder conviction, and a string of pending felony financial charges, Corey's civil lawsuits live on. Those lawsuits have been emotionally grueling, all-consuming, and unimaginably expensive. And tragically, every dollar on those suits is a dollar that Eric's boys will not get. Of course, Corey can't have other people or the public thinking that she's trying to take away her children's inheritance. So for the past 4 years, both in court and in the media, she has demonized and vilified me. She has hurled wild accusations in my direction, including that I hacked her bank accounts, forged her bank statements, paid off witnesses, unduly pressured law enforcement into investigating her, and quietly pulled the Summit County prosecutor's strings. It is despicable that for doing nothing more than trying to honor Eric's wishes, Corey has cast me as the evildoer here. Just as bad, honoring Eric's wishes has landed my sister and myself and unbelievably my 2 daughters in Corey's crosshairs. One of Eric's sons recently told me that Corey used to say, "I will get them one day." Apparently she was talking about me, my sister, and my daughters. Her infamous walk the dog letter, the part the jury did not hear, confirms her desire to harm me. In it, she talks at length about her plans to get at Amy and me, including by targeting my daughters, both of whom are under the age of 10. It takes a sick mind to target children. The mere thought that someone who has so little regard for human life or decency might one day walk free is horrifying. I worry about the safety of Eric's boys, my daughters, my sister, and myself. There is nothing Corey will not do, and no one she will not hurt, to achieve her own selfish ends. I am not the only one that is afraid. There are 3 little boys who, instead of fearing those who love and adore them, as Corey would prefer, worry constantly that Corey might show up one day and take them away. Eric's sons deserve so much better. They are not bargaining chips. They are not cash cows. They are not props for some twisted children's book about grief and loss. And yet that is what they've been reduced to by Corey. To my unending sadness and horror, Eric himself understood all too well the danger she posed to his children and to his family. When Eric told me he had changed his estate planning and appointed me as his trustee and personal representative, I begged him to end the marriage and go his separate way. By that point, he had already consulted with a divorce attorney and was deeply afraid that he might not be awarded sole custody of his children. He made the heartbreaking decision to stay because he could not accept the risk of what might happen to his sons if Corey had equal custody. He told me he would live his life through hell every single day of his life until his youngest was 18, because he believed Corey was the most evil person he had ever met. He knew that his sons did not like her. He told me as much many times. He knew that they would prefer to be far away from her, but he also knew that divorce carried significant risks. And he said he could never allow his children to spend half of their time alone with her, because he was certain they would be exposed to harm and things no child should ever experience. He made it clear that in his mind, if Corey were given equal custody, his children would be in the care of someone he believed to be deeply dangerous. He feared the people they could be exposed to and the damage that could be done. At the same time, he spoke with deep love and admiration for his boys. He told me that they were the most amazing boys in the world, and that none of this was their choice and none of it was their fault, and that he would do everything in his power to protect them for as long as he possibly could. Corey loves to go on and on about how this case is a media sensation. She's right. News outlets from here to Europe have covered it. There have been countless newspaper articles, podcasts, and TV specials about it. Every hearing is live streamed on numerous YouTube channels. Every filing is scrutinized by internet lawyers and true crime junkies. There is no question that this case is famous and that Corey is now famous. But what Corey never mentions in talking about her fame and notoriety are the reasons why this case is now famous. It is famous for how appalling and sickening it is. It is famous because a mother meticulously planned to kill her husband, killed him while their children were sleeping in the next room, and then had the audacity to hold herself out as the author of a children's book about grief and loss. It is famous because she spent time Googling luxury prisons for the rich in America. It is famous because from her jail cell, she scripted a bunch of phony testimony so that her brother could perpetrate a fraud on the court. It is famous because she victimized her own children and threatened to victimize Eric's nieces. The fame and attention are directly proportional to the evil that has gone on here. This is not a situation where the idea of rehabilitation should be entertained. In taking Eric's life for her own selfish gain, Corey did not only harm Eric, she permanently harmed 3 kids who were under the age of 10. She took away a dad, a son, a brother, an uncle, a grandson, a nephew, a cousin, and a friend. Eric's death has caused immeasurable pain to so many. Obviously, there's nothing the court can do about that. And you cannot bring him back. But what you can do is give Corey's victims at least some measure of closure. To that end, I ask that the court impose a sentence that ensures Corey never has the opportunity to harm Eric's children or our family again. Please do not let my brother's life be worth nothing more than a 25-year punishment. Please do not leave those boys to wonder whether Corey might track them or their children down in the future. Please do not create a possibility for Corey to endanger Eric's boys, my daughters, my family, or anyone else ever again. Please sentence Corey to a life in prison without the possibility of parole. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. That was Eric Richins' sister speaking at the sentencing of his wife, Corey Richins, who has been convicted by a jury of aggravated murder and a number of other charges. She spoke very poignantly. I thought that was an interesting recitation, and I should disclose this. I was mentioned by one of the people that spoke. I have been the representative of the victim's family, of the Eric Richins family. I'm not their attorney. I'm just a sort of a spokesperson. I should make sure that I mention that. But I'd like to ask you this, Holly, because we can see this. Corey Richins is in the courtroom. She's, for the first time ever, she's not wearing civilian clothes. She's got the bright yellow jail shirt that they wear in the jail that the females wear. Her expressions have caught me as unusual, but I mean, I'm in court every day. Can you just tell us what you thought just watching her?
Yes. This is a person, my opinion, who has no remorse about what happened. So we could see the stream, and she was making faces. She was laughing at some point. She was trying to get Eric's sister to look at her, like leaning over really far, trying to make eye contact, which of course she's facing and addressing the judge. But it was clear to me that Corey was mocking her. She kept leaning over and talking to her attorney. I mean, holy cow, Greg.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to help her, by the way, I'm not an attorney.
I would have expected her attorneys to tell her to just look forward, look ahead. What was really troubling to me, and again, I'm looking at this from a person who's trying to get a little bit of love today from the judge, is that every time his sister mentioned the boys and how they're doing, and I would have expected her as a mother to show some,
somehow.
exactly, just like show some compassion, show anything, but she didn't flinch at all. I mean, the whole idea that the boys don't want to be with her, that she was harmful to them, that she was doing things that she shouldn't have done, she killed their father. I mean, you would expect it at least to bring a tear to your eye or something like that. You know what I mean?
You would expect. So she does not, in my opinion, come across as sympathetic in any way. And I will say this. Prosecutors filed on Monday additional information, I guess, before the sentencing, that she sent a text right after her conviction. I will expose this county, the prosecution, the judge, the Richins, the investigation, all of it. So they can lock me away for now. It's fine. It's going to come back on then. It will come to an end. I'm not going away. I won't be silent. I'm going to expose them all for what they've done to me. This is injustice. They picked the wrong one.
Yeah, and going after the judge isn't going to help either. So we have to break in just a minute, but we will come back with this actual sentence when the judge gets to that. I should just say this for our listeners: the fact that she's convicted of aggravated murder gives the judge two choices. Now, I guess theoretically he could give her probation, but he's not going to do that. It's either 25 years to life in prison for that count or life in prison without the possibility of parole. So that's one of the questions that we're going to be listening closely to when the judge imposes the sentencing. Is it a 25 to life, or is it life without the possibility of parole? And the second thing that I'll be interested in is with respect to counts 2, 3, 4, and 5, whether he runs those concurrently, which is at the same time, or runs those consecutively. Because he gives her life without and runs them consecutive, you would assume he could not possibly give her a more harsh sentence.
Yeah.
I mean, the life without's going to sort of cover that base anyway. So, yeah, we're going to follow this closely. And when the judge actually has the ruling, we're hearing from other family members. We don't need to listen to all those. But when the judge enters his ruling, no matter where we are, we will break away and let people listen to that.
Yeah.
We'll be right back. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. President Trump, what we're going to talk about is Trump being in China for talks, including talks on the economy. But before he left, he told ABC News that Americans' financial situation wasn't even a factor in his talks over ending the war in Iran. We're going to talk about that when we come back next.
10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour, as you've been hearing on Inside Sources, the Corey Richins sentencing is taking place right now in Summit County. She's the woman convicted of killing her husband, Eric. Right now, Eric's family members are reading victim statements to the judge. Here's Katie Richins Benson speaking.
For doing nothing more than trying to honor Eric's wishes, Corey has cast me as the evildoer here. Just as bad, honoring Eric's wishes has landed my sister and myself and, unbelievably, my 2 daughters in Corey's crosshairs.
Eric's family wants Corey to spend the rest of her life behind bars. 2 southern Utah counties are under fire watch warning for today. The Utah Division of Forest Services says high winds combined with low humidity and hot temperatures means Iron and Washington counties are seeing an increased fire risk. They're asking everyone to be cautious outside and to practice good fire sense. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Netflix is more than just a video streaming service. It's also a vast sea of information about consumers and their habits. ABC's Jim Ryan reports the Texas Attorney General is taking the company to court over how that information is gathered and used.
One line in the lawsuit filed by the state of Texas stands out. When you watch Netflix, Netflix watches you. The suit accuses the company of spying on viewers, including children, and selling data about their viewing habits to advertisers who can then craft targeted messages. Netflix insists that it takes users' privacy seriously and complies with all data protection laws.
Your money at this moment. The Dow recovered a little bit from earlier drops, but it is still down 152 points for the day at 49,608. Coming up, that heat's going to get real windy too. KSL weather's next. KSL News Time, 10:31.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
If the world were like a Sleep Number mattress, everything would adapt for your comfort. Because as your life changes and your body changes, Sleep Number mattresses adapt and shift to give you personalized comfort night after night. And now everything's on sale during our Memorial Day event. Save up to $1,200 on mattresses for a limited time. To experience a whole new world of comfort, visit a Sleep Number store or go to sleepnumber.com. Sleep Number, to a good life's sleep.
And Doug. There's nowhere I wouldn't go to help someone customize and save on car insurance with Liberty Mutual, even if it means sitting front row at a comedy show.
Hey everyone, check out this guy and his bird. What is this, your first date?
Oh, no. We help people customize and save on car insurance with Liberty Mutual together. We're married. Me to a human, him to a bird.
Yeah, the bird looks out of your league anyways.
Get a quote at libertymutual.com or with your local agent.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors. And let's face it, it's time to update the look of your home's exterior. When was that thing built? In the 50s, 70s, 90s, the 2000s? Well, it's looking like it. Faded siding, drafty windows, leaky gutters. It's time to take action now. RGS Exteriors has been taking Utah homes from drab to fab for over 5 generations. We only use the highest quality materials, like James Hardy siding and gutter topper gutter covers. You will be blown away by how much different and better and awesome your house can look. Your neighbors will be jealous, your home value will go up, and most of all, you're going to love it. Everything we do comes with our industry-leading 10-year everything guarantee, so you can sleep like a baby, knowing if anything goes wrong, you're 100% covered. For a free estimate on your gutters, windows, siding, or anything on your outside of your home, call RGS Exteriors at 801-280-3110 or visit us at rgsexteriorsutah.com. That's rgsexteriorsutah.com.
Veterans and active duty service members, when your call to service ends, your mission doesn't have to. Go from GI to IT in just a few months at My Computer Career. Prepare for a high-demand career in cybersecurity, protecting people, systems, and institutions from real cyber threats. Cyber warriors are needed now. Will you answer the call? Go to mycomputercareer.edu/CWP to learn more. That's mycomputercareer.edu/CWP, an elite CompTIA certification partner. VA education benefits are available to those who qualify.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment.
Visit mintmobile.com/radio.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Traffic and weather together on KSL News Radio, brought to you by UCCU. Earn 4.24% on savings at uccu.com. Here's Cormac Bone.
While the crash is still on southbound I-15 in Layton, the delays have migrated down toward the construction zone between Kaysville and Farmington. It's slow and go as you get past 200 north and reach down toward Park Lane. Otherwise, roadways on I-15 looking pretty good. No delays through Utah and Salt Lake counties. Southbound Highway 89, though, seeing some heavy traffic just after the I-84 interchange, and that's due to that crash that is still there, blocking that right lane and shoulder. So do be careful as you try and get past the I-84 interchange and go down toward Davis County and SR 193. Prepare youth for life's next chapter with items from Deseret Book. Whether mission, temple, or college bound, find journals, jewelry, clothing, shoulder bags, and books to help them soar at DeseretBook.com. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, extra warm today with highs again around 90 degrees, but the winds are going to pick up because a northern cold front's pushing through. Could even be a few pop-up thunderstorms producing some microburst winds. Tomorrow, much cooler, high around 73 degrees. But right now, mostly cloudy and 82 degrees in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
As we know, President Trump is in China meeting with President Xi Jinping, but as he was heading there, he said the ongoing financial situation affecting a lot of Americans right now is not a motivating factor for reaching a deal to end the war in Iran.
Well, that's a nice way to put it. But yes, he made those comments as he left the White House for this trip to China.
ABC News White House correspondent Karen Travers has more with that.
President Trump Tuesday said Americans' financial situation was not even a little bit of a motivating factor for him to reach a deal to end the 11-week war in Iran, despite the inflation report out today.
The only thing that matters when I'm talking about Iran, they can't have a nuclear weapon. I don't think about Americans' financial situation. I don't think about anybody. I think about one thing.
I asked the president to clarify. Is he not considering the financial impact of this war on Americans? He again said the most important thing by far is Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Asked about the pressure on Americans now with higher prices, he told me every American understands. Karen Travers, ABC News, the White House.
So whether they understand or not, I will say this. A large majority of U.S. voters are now disapproving of the way the president is handling the economy. Many of them, like 7 out of 10, say they expect a recession next year. And I'll say that during his first term, the president's disapproval rating on the economy didn't go above 50%. Now it's 70% disapprove of the way he's handling the economy.
Yeah, and we talked yesterday about the fact that inflation was at a 3-year high. There are other financial situations going on in the country right now. Jobs were pretty good, but the overall economy and gas prices, energy prices have gone through the roof, but other commodities have gone up as well.
Yeah.
They've gone up a lot. He's suffering that way, and then he's asked by literally on the grass of the White House as he's getting on a plane, well, do you think that the American economy, do you think that the
Americans' financial
situation should be a factor in what you're about to do? He said no.
Nope, I don't even think about that.
He was locked into, I think his message was, well, all I care about is there's no nukes. We are all willing to pay whatever it takes to make sure that Iran doesn't have any nuclear capability. And, of course, they don't. I think most people would agree they don't. But he wants to lock them in.
So we're speaking of prices, right? So producer prices rose 6% from a year earlier. This is yesterday's news as well. We talked about the inflation rate, but this is a specific number that looks at inflation before it hits consumers. And I'm looking at an Associated Press article, but there's multiple out there. It's the biggest monthly gain in more than 4 years, the producer price index.
I wouldn't have expected that. I don't know exactly what that is. I know you just explained it, but I've never heard of that because 6%, when we talked yesterday about inflation going up 3.8 or some percent, it just seemed like a different number than I would have expected.
So the producer prices exclude the food and energy costs, right? And so we've talked about that before, but it's what happens before we, the consumer, start paying those prices. Like they're looking at it and people are concerned. So that our friend of the show, economist Michael Kofed, he's been commenting online saying several things about this is a really concerning sign, right? That this jump is so large. And in fact, the Associated Press is saying these numbers caught economists off guard. They altered the dynamic at the U.S. Federal Reserve and its fight against inflation because it set off alarm bells. And there's, of course, conversations about affordability. And if you remember, the president campaigned this most recent time on affordability and making life more affordable for Americans. But more recently, he has said affordability is a Democratic buzzword, and it's not something that he's concerned about.
Yeah, it just continues for him. But he's focused, laser focused on certain things, and doesn't seem to think that makes a difference. He speaks and says, our economy is stronger than ever. We've done a lot with the economy. And, of course, they continue to look at the Dow and other economic indicators. And the Dow, of course, has done pretty well, although it's not at a high by any means anymore. Gas prices, I think, are continuing to rise. I mean, they're continuing to rise. And we're heading into one of the biggest travel weekends of the year. Memorial Day weekend is just 10 days away. People are
maybe people will not travel this year.
Maybe not going to be traveling.
Maybe not with gas at $4.50 a gallon and $5.50 if you're driving diesel like you sometimes do.
Thanks a lot, right? Just bought one.
Look, I mean, it's one thing to say we're focused on making sure that Iran can't hit us with a nuclear weapon, but I think I think it comes across as tone deaf to say I don't even consider what Americans are feeling right now. It's not even part of the calculation. I think that comes across as a little bit tone deaf.
There are a lot of things that are going to happen with the president and President Xi in China as it relates to potential economy issues. Although I don't think the president is all that interested in what China thinks about the Strait of Hormuz. I mean, he should be, and they're certainly interested in that. They may say, well, let's work on this or let's work on that. I mean, I think Taiwan's going to be an issue. I think artificial intelligence and the sharing or the competition for information is going to be an issue. There are a lot of things that are going to happen. We know that China sold something like 7 million of its cars in the world last year, and that's up from they were selling about 1 million a year. Now they're up to 7 million a year, but not in the United States. They're forbidden from selling in the United States, or at least they don't sell in the United States because there is a 100% tariff on Chinese-made automobiles, and so we don't see those in the United States. That I assume that President Xi is going to say, can we get into your market? Because I think we heard, and I know I'm rambling here, that Elon Musk went with Trump.
He took a whole bunch of tech CEOs with him. Look, you mentioned the Strait of Hormuz, and Reuters has a report that says the president says there's no need for China's help on Iran as they're trying to get ships through the Strait of Hormuz. But we mentioned earlier that China gets their oil through the strait, right? That's where their oil is coming from.
A great amount of Chinese oil. In fact, there was Chinese tankers that are being held up on this side that can't get through. So you got to imagine they're upset.
So the president said to reporters yesterday, in the same one that we just heard from Karen Travers, he says, "I don't think we need any help with Iran. We'll win one way or the other, peacefully or otherwise." And you know that there's, in theory, I think, a ceasefire, but in practice, they're still shooting at each other.
Yeah, and we talked yesterday about the fact that Congress has to weigh in on war powers within 60 days of a conflict, and they haven't and don't seem to be in any hurry to do that, in part because Trump is saying that the ceasefire puts a timeout on that. Stops the clock, the 60-day clock.
And one final thought, or just yesterday, earlier today, a Chinese supertanker had 2 million barrels of oil, and it made it through the strait.
Oh.
Okay.
Good timing.
So we've had a lot of heavy conversations so far. We're going to have additional heavy conversations, but we're going to have a few minutes to talk about something a little lighter, the World War II candy bomber, and some fun associations with Germany and American students. So stay with us for that.
More than 50 million Americans suffer from a form of mental illness.
And Utah isn't immune, with nearly 1 in 3 people dealing with anxiety, depression, or another form of mental illness.
But there's hope. We can all take action to keep ourselves and our loved ones safe.
That's why KSL has teamed with the Huntsman Mental Health Foundation to bring you hope and help you thrive.
It's Healthy Mind Matters.
Find out more at healthymindmatters.com.
Any Hour Services can help unclog any drain in your house, whether you have a backup, a clog, or a slow drain you want fixed. Call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
Usually when something sounds way too good to be true, it is. Imagine someone saying you can cut your mobile bill in half. Sounds like a fantasy, but with Xfinity Mobile, it's the real deal. Because when you have Xfinity Internet, you can cut your mobile bill in half, plus try Xfinity Mobile free for a year. No commitment. That's a lot of streaming, sharing, scrolling, whatever else you can do with your phone, all for half the price and none of the commitment. That means you'll save big over Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile. Wild. Now all you have to do is think about how you'll spend all that extra money. Call 1-800-XFINITY, go to xfinitymobile.com, or visit your local Xfinity store to switch today. Xfinity. Imagine that. Restrictions apply. Savings compare one line of Xfinity Mobile Select to comparable plans from T-Mobile, Verizon, and AT&T as of 3/24/26. Taxes, fees, extra. $30 monthly discount limited to new mobile customers only after 12 months. Regular rates apply. Go to xfinitymobile.com.
Can you hear it? That's the sound of nature waking up in Box Elder County. Spring has sprung, and the first visitors are already here. From grebes to geese, Bear River Bird Refuge is alive with the sound of thousands of wings. And it's not just the birds who are invited. There's plenty for you to enjoy. Experience the world-class minerals at Crystal Hot Springs. Stand on the spot where the railroads joined and forged the destiny of a nation at Golden Spike National Historic Park. Check out the jaw-dropping murals up and down Tremonton's charming Main Street. The list goes on and on. Hungry? From fine dining to classic comfort food, Box Elder County has something that's sure to hit the spot. In Box Elder County, the air is fresher, the sky is wider, and spring is in full bloom. Come wake up your senses and plan your spring escape at visitboxeldercounty.com. Produced in partnership with the Utah Office of Tourism.
My friend Joey loves to use old familiar sayings.
You know what they say?
The problem is,
don't look at a gift horse, cause you can't make them drink.
He gets a lot of them mixed up.
People who live in glass houses,
here it comes,
shouldn't cry over spilt milk.
There are also a lot of sayings in the financial world, like, you'll pay lower taxes in retirement. But for many people, it's just not true. You may have done a great job saving in that 401k or IRA, but Uncle Sam is ready to grab a big portion of that money. The team at Galileo Wealth Management can help with strategies that you can start now to lower your tax bill in the future. More for you and less for Uncle Sam.
Or as they say, an apple a day is worth 2 in the bush.
Get the facts on your tax bill in retirement. Call Galileo Wealth today at 385-247-7000. It's 385-247-7000 or online at GalileoWealth.com.
And remember, a stitch in time keeps the doctor away. It does, you know.
Drivers who switch their home and auto with Progressive could save money and time. Other things try to do this, but they really don't. Like the touchscreen at fast food places. It's not like you save time because it takes you longer to use a touchscreen than, I don't know, someone who works there. And another thing, you'd think it would save money because they're not paying a cashier, right? But no, same price. Also, why is there an option to tip? Who am I tipping? Exactly. Anyway, even if you can't save money and time with some things, you could with a Progressive home and auto bundle. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers, not available in all states or situations.
Join us at Camping World's Red, White, and New Trade event, our biggest trade event of the year, May 14th through the 17th. Trade in your RV and get the highest value guaranteed. Then upgrade for less with new RVs starting as low as $94 a month. Plus, take 25% off select maintenance services. Save up to 40% on camp-ready must-haves. And enter to win a new RV. Don't miss the Red, White, and New Trade event at your local Camping World, May 14th through the 17th. We'll see you there.
As the #1 small business lender, Zions Bank helps entrepreneurs reach and exceed their goals. Visit your local branch or zionsbank.com/SBA. Equal housing lender.
Inside Sources.
Well, you probably remember the story of Gail Halvorson, a transport pilot in World War II who helped bring supplies to those trapped in Berlin. And among things that were dropped was candy, the candy bomber.
He became the candy bomber. And I have to tell you, before we talk about what just happened yesterday, when I was a student at BYU in the mid-1980s, Gail Halvorson came and did a speech there. And I'm thinking that he must have been like maybe my age, that he was probably like early 60s and coming to talk about his experience during World War II. And I remember as a teenage college student at the time thinking he was really old, and now I'm that age.
Was he brought there because he was the candy bomber?
Yes. So that became his legacy, right? That became his legacy. And in fact, he has passed away. He died when he was 101, believe it or not. But he was just known for being the candy bomber. And if you remember that story, he was flying a cargo plane, and he was seeing, like, as he flew over, right, there was a blockade on Berlin. The Russian army was blockading Berlin, and they couldn't get any supplies in or out. And so Americans were flying over, and as he's seeing things, he's seeing like the kids running and waving, and he ends up tying, like, they had rations, right? And he would get a cigarette ration, but he was LDS, and so he never smoked. He started trading those for chocolate, but he saw these kids, and he decided to tie a hanky to a chocolate bar and start dropping them, and it was, of course, wildly popular. Yeah. And so then he recruited like his buddies and things, and it turned into a really big thing. So there's a story about him, but how it impacted Utah, and there was a really fun story yesterday.
Yeah, it was interesting. So what was the occasion that he came here? He was just a speaker when you heard him?
No, he lives here. So he was
that's what I mean.
Provo resident.
That's the Utah tie.
Yeah, that's the Utah tie. So he was here in Utah, and he still, I can't remember, I think maybe at the very end of his life, he went to a care facility. But when he was 100, he was still living in the home he built in 1974 down in Provo. So
there's an interesting picture of the candy in the article. Somebody took a picture of what he had done, the little halver bar, they call it. Or
right.
Was that something?
So yesterday, so that was not what happened during World War II, of course. But yesterday there was an event, and it was held in, I think, West Jordan, right? So to commemorate his, in South Jordan, West Hills Middle School in South Jordan. What they had done is get some students from a sister school in Berlin, and it was the Gail S. Halvorson School in Berlin. There's a few students, about a half a dozen of them, came over to the United States to commemorate this day. So yesterday was the day the blockade ended, and they came over to honor Gail Halvorson.
And in doing that, they created these
as part of the celebration. Yeah, they did. They had a special chocolate made in his honor. They had a contest for drawing the package, right? And so they called it a Halver bar, as you mentioned. And then they were handed out to students, and they had an opportunity to, like, throw them up there and those kinds of things.
That says a lot about him. Yeah. That a school was named after an American pilot in Berlin. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a grade school in Berlin was named after an American pilot who later became as a candy bomber.
I think if you ask people, in fact, one of the news organizations that covered this story, they asked one of the German students, well, what does he mean to you? And the student said, he saved us. He saved us in Germany, right? I mean, so there's a couple of things. Candy is not necessary for survival.
Right.
But hope is.
Right.
And I think what he gave these people in World War II was some hope that there would be an end and that people cared.
Especially the young people, the kids that are scared for their lives and thinking, is my end coming?
Yeah.
You know, that's brilliant that giving them some level of hope.
Yeah. In fact, this is a Deseret News story. I mentioned hope, and they actually said he brought hope and joy in a time of depression. So the candy bomber, a teacher from that school in Berlin, said they believe that Gail Halvorson will always be an example to the world of what can happen when we set aside our differences and help others. Former enemies can grow friends together. So remember, of course, World War II, right? America and Germany, we were not great friends at all.
Right.
And then the Soviets got involved in blockading Berlin, and here was an American pilot saying, I'm going to help bring some joy and some happiness here.
Did you see the competition that happened between the two schools?
No. Huh?
They had a competition from West Hills Middle School and the Berlin School. Of which kid could come up with the best idea for a chocolate bar that would be dropped from a plane, and they put these together. They had little samples, and there's one of them that's what was in the picture, and the American winner created a chocolate bar called the Halver bar that consisted of milk chocolate, caramel, honey, because the student said, I wanted the flavors to feel uplifting the way Halvorson uplifted others through small acts of care.
And we a local artisan chocolate company, Taste Artisan Chocolate in Provo, created those. Actually made them, right? Turned the idea into an actual chocolate square with a wrapper that kids had designed the wrapper as well. And then they had those yesterday at this big event. But they also had Gail Halvorson's daughter who spoke. She's a member of the board of directors for the Candy Bomber Foundation, and she encouraged students to be a candy bomber in their own way.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to literally drop candy from an airplane, right?
And this event was very well attended. There were both American and German flags there at the West Hills Middle School in West Jordan. Just a wonderful ceremony to celebrate. And it was, they flew kids over from Germany.
Yeah.
To participate
for
in
this event.
For this event.
That's how big it is.
And then came here. It must have spent some time because they had the competition and everything. The school band's there playing, and it just looks like and the day looks like it was perfect.
So let me just say how important Gail Halvorson is to these students. So they got here on Sunday. They visited the Utah Capitol on Monday, and then in Provo, they went to make their chocolates, but they went to visit the grave of Gail Halvorson and pay their respects. How sweet is that? And then they went to the school assembly. They're going to do some more stuff while they're over here. So this is a really fun trip for them. They went to Rio Tinto, the copper mine, and they're going to Arches and Canyonlands.
Yeah, I do want to pivot for just a minute because I think a lot of listeners have been listening to the Corey Richins case. The state put on its evidence, its case for what they thought was the appropriate sentence. Interestingly, the three boys, the children of Eric and Corey Richins, gave what are called victim impact statements. That is, they wrote down what they thought should happen. I thought that was a little unusual, maybe even problematic, but one of the family members read those statements, and they were really very hard on their mother, as you might expect, that they were fairly unforgiving and didn't want to see her and thought that she should get out. They actually demonstrated some fear for her. But the reason I interrupted is because they just took a break in the proceedings, which tells me that the state's portion of the sentencing is over. So they put on their case. They put on their evidence.
Okay.
It's not really evidence. It's more just speaking.
Comments.
But so the court's going to take a recess in a few minutes. Unfortunately, Corey's the only person in the courtroom now. She's sitting there looking lonely. And then the defense will speak. And that should take some time, too. I think.
So it's been about an hour.
Right. The defense will have as much time as they want. The judge is being fairly liberal. And then I'll be interested to see what Corey has to say. And
does she speak too?
She has the right to.
Oh.
She has every right to. If, in fact, she does speak, with all respect to our other segments, I'm going to ask if we can break away. I don't know that that'll occur, but we'll be interested to see what happens. It's about a 15-minute break, so it may not finish before the show ends anyway. But she's sitting in the courtroom with her jail clothes, playing with her hair, but there's no one else in the courtroom. She's probably wishing the bailiffs would take her back. But it's been an interesting proceeding. And again, I'm sorry I interrupted. I just thought people might be interested to see what was going to happen. And then the judge will sometime between now and noon, I think, issue his what's called sentence.
Right.
And then, of course, the appeals can follow and that type of thing. But you can't really do much until you're sentenced. So that's where the case is right now.
So barring Corey Richins' sentencing news, we're going to spend the next hour talking about the state of policing in the line of duty, the challenges, the successes, the support available for officers and their families. So stay with us. It'll be a good hour.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Becky Bruce. KSL's top story this hour, sentencing continues for the Summit County mom accused of poisoning her husband and writing a children's book about grief for her kids. Corey Richins could receive 25 years to life or life without parole. Currently, they're at recess. As soon as more developments happen, you're going to hear it right here on KSL News Radio. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Trade will be a hot topic in Beijing today, where President Trump plans to meet with his Chinese counterpart.
The CEOs of major companies and executives of companies like Visa, Meta, and Goldman are going to be going along with the president, as well as NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang. That is a big deal because NVIDIA has been lobbying to get its more advanced semiconductors for artificial intelligence sold into China.
And ABC's Selena Wang reporting. War in Iran, of course, is also expected to be on the agenda. Other national stories we're following. U.S. wholesale inflation came in hot last month. Producer prices rose 6% from a year earlier. That is the biggest increase we've seen since late 2022. Your money at this moment, the Dow is down about 1/3 of a percentage point. S&P 500 is up about 0.5%, and NASDAQ is up just over 1%. A red flag warning is in effect until 9 tonight across much of central and southern Utah. State fire officials say the combo of strong winds, hot weather, and low humidity are raising the risks. Coming up, warm and windy ahead of that big cool down on Thursday. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 11:01.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
Trying to make sense of the markets? Looking to diversify out of all the craziness? Thinking about tangible assets like precious metals? Listen to The Gold Show with Alan Johnson right here on KSL at 3 p.m. Sunday afternoons. Stay up to date on retirement trends, how the IRA rollover process works, and why investors are turning to physical gold. Alan is a national talk show host with decades of experience in the markets. Tune in for Alan's Insights and The Gold Show this Sunday afternoon at 3.
This is Nate Orchard from Advanced Window Products. When you live in Utah, your windows do a lot more than let the light in. They protect your home from freezing winters, blazing summers, and everything in between. That's why Advanced Window Products builds every window for your local climate. No middleman, no out-of-state delays, just factory direct quality, custom made for your home. Imagine a quieter home, a warmer home, a cooler home. Our high-efficiency vinyl windows are engineered to lower your energy bills and boost your comfort all year round. And installation is done by our own certified in-house crews, never subcontractors. That's why Utah homeowners give us 5-star reviews. Right now, take advantage of our anniversary sale. For a limited time, get $2,500 off when you buy 10 or more windows. Call 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100. For 40 years, Advanced Window Products has been the name Utah trusts for custom replacement windows and sliding glass doors. Advanced Window Products, built here, installed here, trusted here. Call 801-850-9100 for that $2,500 off, or visit us at advancedwindows.com to schedule your free in-home estimate.
You're the turf whisperer, the grass-cutting guru. Dandelions don't stand a chance on your watch. When it comes to your lawn, power moves are the only moves you make. That's why you just applied IFA's Weed and Feed for strong, dark green turf without a weed in sight. IFA's Weed and Feed. It's the ultimate lawn owner power move.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. You deserve to love where you bank. Let's check in now with Ricky Meese.
We do have good speeds on the Valley freeways, and the crash that we had in Orem for a couple of hours on I-15, and this is going to be just near University Parkway. That has finally cleared. We do have a crash in West Valley. Actually, it's a traffic light issue. You'll see crews out, and they are blocking a right lane. This is Redwood Road at 3500 South. Coming Memorial Weekend, May 22nd through 25th, the Soldier Hollow Classic Sheepdog Championship and Festival, presented by Purina Pro Plan. Discounted tickets at soldierhollowclassic.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
We have a chance for dry thunderstorms today, and it'll be windy and warm with a high of 90 degrees. Clear skies overnight. Then tomorrow, things should cool down quite a bit. We're looking at some breezy conditions and 73 degrees. Right now, we're already at 82 degrees. I'm Becky Bruce from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
This evening, the names of 2 fallen police officers from Utah will be added to the National Law Enforcement Memorial in Washington, D.C.
Tremont and Garland police officers Eric Estrada and Sergeant Lee Sorensen both died in the line of duty last summer.
And today they're going to join other officers from around the country who died last year in getting their names on this monument. They're officers who died while protecting their communities.
Recall last week we had a vigil here at our state capitol for local law enforcement officers who died in the line of duty. Sadly, we had 2 this year, the 2 that we're talking about. But today is the nation's vigil that we're going to take a closer look at policing in the state altogether.
So we're doing a special hour of coverage on Inside Sources in the line of duty, barring breaking news from Corey Richins' sentencing.
Yeah.
But we had some perspective. We asked for some perspective on the state of policing in Utah right now and spoke with recently retired Chief of Police from West Jordan, Ken Wallentine.
Yeah, I've known Ken for about 44 years. He worked in law enforcement in his early career, became a prosecutor at the Uinta County Attorney's Office, worked for the Utah Attorney General's Office in there and helped with the law enforcement community. He's been a huge asset to law enforcement. He then became the Chief of Police of West Jordan. He just recently retired from West Jordan, and so we got him on the phone and asked him to share some insights into the challenges law enforcement officers tend to face and some unique successes that they see here in Utah.
Policing is still fundamentally about service, judgment, human relationships, but the environment that officers work in today is far more complicated than when I started 44 years ago. Utah policing is generally strong, professional, and community-oriented. But officers are expected today to be law enforcers and mental health responders, mediators, even addiction specialists, social workers, crisis managers, and that Greg, that can all happen in one shift. When I started, we were primarily law enforcers, and frankly, the job has changed in ways that I would not have predicted 40 years ago. I think one of the major changes in public safety today is that officers are facing scrutiny, often with partial videos or incomplete facts that circulate online literally minutes after an incident. We've seen that so often in our own community. And at the same time, technology, training, professionalism are significantly, dramatically even better than they were 4 decades ago. I think another significant change in our profession is that we are concentrating more and more on de-escalation training, crisis intervention. Those are 2 of the major priorities. But most police work still ends the same way it always has, with somebody helping another human being on a very bad day. I think one thing I think the public should know is that the overwhelming majority of officers I've known over 44 years truly care about people, and they want to do the job well. If you want, I can talk about some other broad challenges like recruitment, some of the differences in technology.
That'd
Tell
be
me where
great.
you'd like to go.
Actually, Chief, I did want to ask you about recruitment and retention because I certainly have seen stories that this is getting harder for police departments. So can you talk about that?
Sure. We've had law enforcement officers, cops in my family since 1869, and two of my older children are law enforcement officers, have been for years. And it used to be that you'd go into this profession and you'd expect to do 25, 30, probably not 44 years, but a long time. And today we don't see that long-term commitment. So the retention causes recruitment issues because we've got more turnover and fewer people are willing to take on a difficult public-facing profession. And today, young people have a lot of career options, many that pay well with less stress and less public criticism. And that the consequences of that is that our incumbent officers, the officers in service, face mandatory overtime. We see staffing shortages that results in emotional fatigue and constant scrutiny of what they're doing. So agencies have tried to respond to improve recruiting by better pay, for one, wellness programs. We didn't see that when I started. Lateral transfers, flexible scheduling, educational incentives, and really emphasizing the mission and service component of public safety. And I'll say this too, the departments have become more selective about emotional maturity and communication skills. You can't recruit people only by talking about adrenaline and action anymore. The job today is about judgment, restraint, communication. But the really great news is this. There are still young men and women raising their hand because they want a meaningful life of service. And I think that says something important about the profession of policing. I have great hopes for the future. I do see young people coming into the profession that are committed, they're dedicated, they want to be part of the community. I believe that people are drawn to helping others and meaningful work, teamwork, problem solving, and really making a difference. I've seen that in both of your lives, and I just think that's what good people do. And policing offers a strong sense of mission, camaraderie, and over the last years, in the last few months, I've had time to think about, what do I remember most about 44 years of service? And I remember the small moments. I remember helping a victim. I remember finding a lost child. I remember talking a number of people out of suicide and helping during tragedy. And I think that one of the great things about recruiting is that we can point officers to those experiences and help them understand that at the end of your career, most cops, they won't remember the arrests nearly as much as they remember the people they helped. And they have the opportunity in this profession to go home knowing they have made somebody's worst day a little bit safer. That, I think, in the long run will help us continue to have great people in this profession.
Let me ask you a follow-up on that, Ken. I've never worked as a law enforcement officer, but as you know, I've taught law enforcement. I work with law enforcement all the time, and people ask me periodically that if you had a son or daughter who was considering a career in law enforcement, would you encourage or discourage that? And my answer has always been that I would encourage it. Given what you know about the state of policing today, what would you say?
Wow. Well, I'm proud that I have kids who are cops. I'm proud that I have this long family history. I have a grandson who is named for my great-great-great-grandfather, who was a deputy U.S. Marshal in Dodge City, Kansas. And when he talks about becoming a deputy sheriff like his mom, I get a little nervous. And yet I would still encourage him because I believe it's a place, I believe it's a profession where you can be your very best self, where you can really realize the purpose that you're here on life, here on the earth for it. And that's just to make life a little bit better for everybody else on this big blue marble we're on. So I'd say go for it, but pause and really consider why it is you think about law enforcement as a profession.
I did ask him that question, Holly, because I am asked, would you consider a career in law enforcement if one of your children asked you, is that something they would do? And I would, as dangerous as it is, I would never discourage a loved one of mine from going into law enforcement. I really feel that way. A lot of people think, no, there's no way I would want my child to be a cop, but I'd be as proud of that as any career that we have right now.
I mean, I certainly would be proud of a child who chose that, but I also would be very worried, right? I mean, we're talking about honoring 2 officers who were killed in the line of duty last year, and we've talked about how dangerous this profession is. And I know that there are other professions that are even more dangerous, but still, I mean, it's something that I think is a consideration for maybe the parents and the spouses of law enforcement officers.
Yeah, and part of the reason we're having this conversation today is because the names of 2 Utah fallen officers will be added to the National Law Enforcement Memorial in Washington, D.C. this evening. We're talking about 2 officers that we had to deal with this case, or we dealt with this case since we started this show, Holly.
Yeah, that's right.
Tremont and Garland police officer Eric Estrada and his Sergeant Lee Sorensen both died in the line of duty last summer in a tragic domestic violence-related shooting. And I'll tell you, those funerals were just gut-wrenching.
They were, and at the National Memorial, I know there are members of the Tremont and Garland Police Department out there, and I think family members too, so I know that we'll have more to talk about that.
Right. When we come back after this, let's take a closer look at the legal challenges members of law enforcement face here in Utah. Stay with us.
If your water heater's over 10 to 15 years old, congratulations. You've beat the average. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and I love hearing stories of people having water heaters that are really old and they're still doing their job. Unfortunately, most of us won't be that lucky. And when water heaters fail, it's usually in spectacularly inconvenient fashion. Whether it's an unexpected cold shower when we're already running late for work, or worse yet, coming home to a flooded basement, it's never fun. If you'd like to look into replacing your water heater before it fails, Any Hour Services is having a sale for any homeowners listening. Whether you're looking for a new tanked water heater or you want to see what upgrading to a tankless would cost, the plumbers at Any Hour Services can show you what options are available. And right now, you can save $400 on a tanked water heater or $1,200 on a tankless. If you think you might be interested, call Any Hour Services today and schedule your free estimate. 801-443-7400. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Hi, this is Derek Overstreet, president of the New Millennium Group and co-host of Stop Working, Start Living with KSL News Radio. Can you imagine what your life would be like if you could retire 3 to 5 years earlier than you thought possible? The things you could do, the loved ones you could spend time with, the memories that you could create. That's what our team at the New Millennium Group does. We'll walk you through the entire process every step of the way. If you'd like to get a copy of the 5-step proprietary plan that will help you retire 3 to 5 years sooner than you thought possible, give us a shout right now. 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370 or utahsfinancialplanner.com. Listen, most of our listeners right now have a tax problem, not a money problem. There's not enough money in Social Security Medicare as it is. Let us show you how you can significantly reduce your taxes. That's 888-999-6370, 888-999-6370, or utahsfinancialplanner.com.
Utah homeowners, listen up. If your roof is over 15 years old and you've had recent storm damage, now's the time to act. Hey, it's Josh with IWC Roofing, and we've built our reputation on quality, integrity, and taking care of homeowners the right way from start to finish. IWC Roofing, Utah's highest-rated roofing company, is now offering $2,500 off your new roof replacement, plus a free upgrade package to maximize your home's protection and value. But that's not all. We're giving away a free roof. Yep, you heard me. One homeowner will receive a brand new roof free. The winner to be announced August 1st. And here's where it gets even better. When you call and mention this radio ad, you'll receive double entries to win. Appointments are filling up fast, and this offer won't last. Call now for your free inspection and estimate. 801-232-5690. That's 801-232-5690. Save $2,500, get upgraded, and you could win a brand new roof. Call IWC Roofing today, 801-232-5690. Restrictions apply. No purchase necessary. See IWCRoofingUtah.com for details and rules.
Common Spirit Health. Hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advance healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Healthcare with human kindness is here. Hello, human kindness.
If you talk and they will hear you.
We all want our kids to grow up safe and healthy. So we show them how. And we tell them with honest conversations that let them know what we expect. Not just one time, but every chance we get. That's especially important when it comes to alcohol and other drugs. Kids not only need to know the dangers and how to avoid them, they need to hear it often from you. And when it comes to pain medications, opioids, they need to know that they should never be taken without a prescription and never shared with friends or family. It's dangerous and illegal. So talk with your kids and guide them through the challenges of growing up safe and healthy. Because when you talk, they hear you. For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
So talk back here. You can do it if you try.
Stolen Voices of Dole Valley, a gripping new podcast about a serial killer you've probably never heard of, Warren Forrest.
If he had dumped two, you would have thought maybe there's another one.
But now a witness, identified in the podcast, could lead investigators to Jamie Grissom. Binge Stolen Voices of Dole Valley wherever you get your podcasts and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the latest breaking news in the case.
The new Inside Sources.
Continuing our special deep dive this hour on law enforcement.
Yeah, for members of the law enforcement community, they often face some really unique challenges.
And among those challenges are legal ones.
Yeah, something I get personally involved in. And this segment, we do want to talk about what those legal challenges are and how law enforcement addresses those.
Yeah, so I want to ask you, what are some of the maybe 30,000-foot view legal issues that law enforcement faces? And then maybe we can dive a little deeper.
So there are those related to their conduct as a police officer, and there are those related to their employment. Let's talk about the police officer one. And this is something that I don't think people appreciate. But when an officer is involved, we call it an OICI, an officer involved critical incident, meaning they shoot, they hurt, or kill someone. Believe it or not, they are automatically, at that moment, a person who's going to be investigated for a crime. So there are three things happen when an officer shoots someone or kills someone. There's a criminal investigation that starts immediately, believe it or not. There's also an investigation within their own department, and then of course the governing body, Police Officer Standards and Training, will do an investigation to see how this could affect their license, their ability to continue as a police officer. And sometimes there's even a civil investigation, if somebody wants to file a lawsuit. But I typically handle the front end of that because I am primarily known as a criminal defense lawyer. There's an agency called the Fraternal Order of Police that contracts with their law enforcement officers. They put in this pool, and then lawyers are brought in, not just me. There's a whole group of us. So when an officer is involved in a shooting, sometimes we'll just get called out in the middle of the night. Hey, there's been a shooting. This officer's in trouble.
Literally immediately.
Immediately, because the officer doesn't know what to do. I mean, he or she just harmed someone or killed someone. They're like, can I say? Should I say anything? And my advice is always, no, not yet. Let's talk. You and I talk and see what we can figure out. And then I'll try to come to a conclusion after meeting with the investigators about, does this officer have some exposure? Is there something that was done here by this officer that could be criminal? Because if there is, there's another, without getting into the weeds too much, there's a theory under the law where an officer can give a statement about a case and fill out his or her report, but it is, we call it garrity. It's like the police officer's view of Miranda a little bit.
Okay.
It's a little bit of a tweak to that, which is essentially this. Hey, I have to fill out this report to keep my job. I have to, and I don't want it to be used against me in a court of law. So you have a warning. You say, okay. We will allow you to fill out this report. It might be incriminating, but it cannot be used in a criminal case against you. We can do an investigation to see if you committed a crime, but we're not going to use your own words, if that makes any sense.
Sure.
Otherwise, you would never be able to fill out your own report.
Yeah, sure.
Because anything you say,
anything
can and will be used against you. So with that backdrop, why would you let anybody speak?
Right.
Well, so you have this protection.
So there's got to be other aspects as well, right? So first of all, you mentioned maybe there could be a civil suit, and this is with an officer involved. You said critical incident, right?
Yes.
What are other situations where police officers, law enforcement officers might interface with the legal community, I guess?
Yeah, so they can be sued under what you're talking about here, 1983, civil rights violation, an act by a government official in the course of his or her duties that causes harm to another. So they can be sued, and it's usually in federal court because that's the law that governs that. Although we have state laws that handle that as well. So an officer can face a civil lawsuit from the victim or the victim's family for their conduct as a police officer. Now, with all respect to police officers, not many of them are multimillionaires.
Right.
So if you have a lawsuit, if you feel like an officer has done something wrong and you want to sue the officer, you're going to sue their department, and you're going to say that the overarching department is responsible for the conduct of the officer. Now, that's not true if a police officer who happens to be a police officer is driving home from completely unrelated work in their personal car, they drive drunk and they hit and kill somebody. They wouldn't be sued as a police officer because they're not acting in the course and scope of their employment. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If they're wearing the badge, wearing the gun, and they're trying to stop a bad guy, and they shoot him, and it turns out to be a bad shoot, we call it, meaning you shot somebody in the back or you shot somebody they wasn't a threat to you, they could be sued for that assault. But then the department would also be on the hook for it, because then there's financial that you can get some money out of it.
So let me ask you about potential misconduct. So you said maybe shoot somebody in the back and they could be, be sued for that. What if there's other misconduct by officers? In fact, we just have a news story recently about a police officer who went on a racist rant, and he's no longer in Utah, but he was.
Right. And in that case, we had a very interesting finding, which is because police officers can lose their job for all kinds of things. For example, sexual misconduct.
Sure.
Doing things on the job, showing up at work with alcohol in your breath. That's an absolute no-no. You know what I mean? As you might expect.
Sure.
Or sort of dereliction of duty. Some officers that cheat on their time cards, and I haven't answered your question yet, but I'm getting to it. Or like we talked about yesterday, officers who are accessing a private database to find out who their ex is dating. You know what I mean? You can't do that. Now you have the situation of the thing you just mentioned, which of course I've now talked myself out of it.
I said misconduct.
Oh, yeah. So misconduct. Officers, the one that we just saw is conduct unbecoming a peace officer. Now there's no such thing that I know of as conduct unbecoming a lawyer or conduct unbecoming a doctor. You know what I mean? We all have regulations within our profession. Police have that weird one, conduct unbecoming. In other words, officers are held to a high standard in terms of their relationship to the public. You don't, as a police officer, have the same opportunities that doctors, lawyers, and accountants have with, being inappropriate to the public, driving your car and making gestures or road rage. I mean, if you're a cop, you're held to a high standard. So that officer that you're talking about made some comments that could be deemed as racial comments, and he, I think, is on the line to lose his job. The reason it got news is because he's a former police officer. So they're saying, this is conduct unbecoming. This is not something we want one of our officers to do. Now, if I make a racial comment and it gets blasted, people may not come and see me. They might say, I don't want to see Skordas. He's racist. He's a bad person. But the bar is probably not going to do anything for conduct unbecoming because that's no such thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, if I steal money from a client or have engaged in inappropriate conduct with a client, that's one thing. But cops have this, I don't know why I mentioned it, just conduct unbecoming.
So you mentioned maybe sexual impropriety. So I know that there have been stories about law enforcement officers who are in positions of power, right? And then they'll trade sexual favor, and I put that in quotes.
I know what you mean.
They'll trade it for I won't give you this ticket as long as you have sex in the back of my patrol car, right? I mean, that sounds really bad. What kind of, besides being fired, right, besides being relieved of duty, what kind of consequences happen there?
Well, that's the ultimate one, is that. And more often, it's not that particular. I don't see that particular scenario where there's
trade.
It's more the quid pro quo, that they're sort of horsing around, or police officers who are they'll meet family, maybe a young girl who thinks they're really cute. They're in a police car, and she gets to do a ride along, and next thing you know, they're horsing around, even though it's purely consensual. It's not consensual for the reason that you said right at the beginning. The position of trust, the position of power. And I tell police officers this. I know it's quaint. I know it's corny, but your badge will get you sex, but sex will get your badge. And I say that when I teach at the police academy, like, hey folks, men and women, people love a person in a uniform. They'll think you're sexy. They'll think you're beautiful. They'll think you're powerful. People want to be with you. They'll find you very, very attractive. But you cannot go down that road, because that's a career ender. That's the kind of thing that even if you just got fired from your department and then you go apply to another department, they're going to say, well, why did you get fired? Because I was horsing around with some domestic violence case that I responded to. Well, we cannot take a chance that will happen again.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the kind of thing that ends police officers' career. And unfortunately, that wouldn't end another profession's career. I mean, usually. But if it's purely consensual, but even officers, you can't go down that road.
Right. Well, I appreciate that insight. And look, we've talked about some of the challenges for law enforcement officers. So next, we're going to talk about the support available for officers and their families in the line of duty. Our special coverage continues in just a few minutes.
It's 11:29 at KSL News Radio. I'm Cameron Elliott. KSL's top local story this hour: a red flag warning is in effect until 9 o'clock tonight across much of central and southern Utah. State fire officials say the combo of strong winds, hot weather, and low humidity make for higher risks. The affected counties include Washington County, Beaver County, Garfield, Iron, Kane, and Paiute. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Health officials continue to monitor the cruise ship passengers who are on board during a hantavirus outbreak. 16 Americans are at a quarantine facility in Nebraska where one of the 16 tested positive and is in isolation. 2 are in Atlanta at a similar facility. Many are not experiencing symptoms, although the incubation period will last more than a month.
The big thing that officials are doing right now are the tracing efforts. They want to see everybody who came in contact with someone who was possibly came down with hantavirus to make sure that they know exactly who they're coming in contact with. So they're mapping out everybody who came in contact with those passengers. They're doing those in-depth interviews. And we're reporting that they're actually now monitoring some people who have never had any contact with that cruise ship whatsoever. So the monitoring is essentially expanding into this wider web.
ABC's Ike Giacchi also says contact tracing is expanding globally. Taking a look at your money at this moment, the Dow Jones is down 134 points. That's 0.25%. The S&P 500 is up 47 points. That's 0.64%. And the Nasdaq is up 324 points. That's 1.25%. Coming up, the heat may not be here to stay. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 11:31.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
If you're ready to buy a home or sell a home and you're worried about the current real estate market because of what you've heard from some of your friends or family, well, we're here to tell you that you really shouldn't be worried, because now is a great time to buy and sell with our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Omada Real Estate.
And here's why. Buyers have more options due to increased inventory, which gives them the power to negotiate for repairs, interest rate buy-downs, and closing cost assistance. While at the same time, sellers are still getting top dollar for their homes, with home values that are higher today than ever before. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, the current real estate market presents a win-win opportunity for both buyers and sellers.
But you still do want to make sure that you're working with a team of real estate experts you can trust that can get you some great results. And that's our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Omada Real Estate.
They have helped thousands of Salt Lake City homeowners, and they're ready to help you. To get started, just go to thesternteam.com. That's thesternteam.com, or Google The Stern Team.
Utah's got the Big Five, but this week we're showing you the Mini Five, hidden state parks flying under the radar. Tonight, Paiute State Park in Junction.
It gets overlooked because it doesn't have the amenities that some of the other big parks have. I'm staying here till I'm done, till I can't walk.
Watch KSL 5 News at 10, and you can win a guest card to hit the road yourself. The Mini 5, Utah's Hidden Gems, tonight on KSL 5 News at 10.
Since 1947, Whipple Service Champions has been Utah's most trusted name for heating, cooling, plumbing, and electrical services. Got a high-priced repair bill from another company and you're just not sure about it? Call Whipple. Get a free, no-pressure estimate or bring us their quote for an honest second opinion. Totally free. Whipple Service Champions, Utah's first place for second opinions since 1947. Call 385-273-7167 for your free estimate today. 385-273-7167.
Get $1,000 in free survival gear for a limited time. You heard that right. Right now, when you order the powerful Grid Doctor 3300 solar generator from MyPatriotSupply.com, we'll send you over $1,000 in life-saving preparedness supplies, including a 4-week survival food kit, water filtration system, an off-grid cook stove, and much more, absolutely free. This offer won't last long, so get your generator and free survival gear now at MyPatriotSupply.com. That's MyPatriotSupply.com.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
ZipRecruiter. Everything to my back is dark.
High in the alpine wilderness,
the ridgeline is imposing the escarpments, the drops.
a place where survival, it's dark now, I have nothing, is never certain. In 2011, an Australian hiker vanished.
Did he really make a wrong turn, or did he decide that he was done?
You have done this walk too, but this is your backyard.
The mountains have decided to keep him.
Find and follow the podcast series Uinta Triangle, wherever you get your podcasts.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Save 4.24% on savings at UCCU.com. Here's Ricky Meese.
We do have good speeds on the Valley freeways. Crews are still working to repair a traffic light in West Valley at the intersection of Redwood Road and 3500 South. And truckers, heads up, high-profile vehicles, even motorcycles, if you're going to be traveling I-80 between Salt Lake and Wendover, just be aware, wind gusts are possible out there. You want to use a lot of caution. Live at the Eccles presents Riverdance, 5 performances Friday through Sunday, beginning May 22nd at the Eccles Theater. Tickets at liveeccles.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Well, today we're looking at a high of 90 degrees with a chance of thunderstorms, which clears up for a perfect sunny day tomorrow with a more temperate 73. The rest of the week is going to float in the high 70s and low 80s until it drops to 61 on Sunday with rain. Right now, though, it's 84 degrees and mostly cloudy. I'm Cameron Elliott from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at KSL News Radio. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Well, as we continue our coverage and looking at a closer look at policing here in Utah, one of the things we really feel like we need to talk about is the overall well-being of officers themselves.
It's certainly one of my questions that I have, especially because I did quite a bit of research during my higher graduate studies on burnout and how that can impact you. So we have with us on the line Commissioner Bo Mason. He's Commissioner of the Utah Department of Public Safety. Thanks for joining us, Commissioner.
Well, thank you for having me.
Can I ask you just off the bat, specifically about mental health? What kind of resources do law enforcement officers have access to when they might need additional support for their mental health?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's a great topic because it is very important to us. Officers do face a lot of things out in the field. They see a lot of things, they're exposed to a lot of things that the normal public isn't, that they can be damaging to their mental health. A lot of these things vary depending on the agency they come from specifically. But our legislative body over the last couple of years has passed legislation requiring a certain amount of mental health practices, best practices, for all agencies. What I can really speak to is Department of Public Safety and what we do. We have a variety of ways we really try to address their mental health. We do that through our peer support team. So we have trained troopers and civilian staff alike that can be there peer to peer to support them through things. We have a licensed psychologist on contract that our troopers can go to anytime they want. It's anonymous. We don't know when they go. We don't know who it is that goes, and so that's a good relief for them. We have an app, a mental wellness app, where they can get online, they can find resources, they can connect with peers that way as well. There's the Safe UT app, which is available to all law enforcement, all first responders, actually. One of the things we implemented a few years ago is we require a mental wellness check-in once a year with our licensed psychologist. And so every year we go and we go through an assessment, and it can rate you compared to the previous years to see how you're tracking, if different issues are bothering you. It just overall check how your mental wellness is going. But one thing that is offered right now and has been taken advantage of by most first responding agencies in the state is a mental health grant, where agencies that didn't have a program could start a program, or those that had some type of program could increase their offerings and capabilities to their first responders.
Commissioner, I have a follow-up question that might be a little sensitive, and I apologize in advance. But I know that there are professions where mental health support is provided, but it's in practice, it's discouraged. For example, I know pilots, in their capacity, they're supposed to be mentally well, but it is a real ding against them if they seek support. Do you find that same type of environment within law enforcement?
I don't even know that's a sensitive question. I think that's a question that has lingered for years. And to speak real frankly, when I was a young trooper, I've been in this career for over 20 years, mental wellness was not addressed. And when you talking about feelings with a bunch of officers, that was not perceived very well, and it just wasn't common practice. I can say we've come a long ways within our department, but within law enforcement as a whole, and within first responders as a whole, including fire, EMS, everybody involved in that. It has come a long ways to where now I can tell you what we see from our licensed psychologist that's on contract is we see the bill and we see the usage. We don't know who it is, but we know how many visits our troopers made, and it is a highly utilized resource now. Our peer support team that was started probably close to 10 years ago now, at first was kind of looked at with a little apprehension, but there are protections in law where that is privileged information, much like talking to a psychologist, to where the peers, that information they share with their peers is protected. And the stigma that really surrounded it years ago is I won't say it's gone. I think we're in a much better place to where very few people still feel that stigma. I think that's more of an isolated case now versus a more common practice.
Commissioner, I'm really pleased to hear the policy that you have in place. If I understood you correctly, that your officers, it sounds like all of them have a once a year, just kind of a fitness checkup, a mental health fitness checkup, which that makes so much sense for me. But I wanted to ask you this: we have police officers get trained all the time. They do firearms inspection, they do firearms shooting, they do self-defense, they do mental health training or shooting training, that type of thing. But when that officer does finally have to use force, even if it's in the line of duty, even if it's something they've been trained to do, it can be really hard on them down the road. And they may not recognize it, but there are resources available for those particular instances too, aren't there? So that an officer can just go talk to someone and say, hey, I went through this situation. I don't know quite how to react to it.
Yeah, so we have a couple different options. We utilize both every time there's a critical incident. We do what's called a critical incident debrief. So not just the used force, any responding officer that was at that scene and saw what the scene was or was involved in any way, we send them to this critical incident debrief, and that is with trained professionals, and they can walk through and talk through the issues that were there. In addition to that, the officer that may have used force, we actually require them to go see our psychologist we can't require them to talk, but we require them to go make the visit, and we find that that's very well received before they come back to duty. So we have a couple other requirements internally, but one of them is they see that psychologist, and then we have a minimum of 2 required check-ins after that. So 6 months from the date of the use of force, and at the 1-year mark, we have them go back in, talk to the same psychologist, so that psychologist knows where they were, knows how they're progressing, and we can continue to follow up and make sure they're not forgotten about, a year down the road.
So I have a question about how we as members of the public can provide support to officers. What can we do besides obey the law?
It's a tricky question. We're really lucky in the state of Utah. There are some individuals in every state that don't support law enforcement. But what I can say as a whole is this state is great at standing behind its law enforcement and offering support. And the best thing you can do is thank an officer for their service or just say hi. It's just knowing that we don't have that atmosphere you see in other states where they're looked down upon. And so when you walk in, you see an officer walk for lunch and somebody says hi, thank you for your service.
Oh,
we might have lost him.
We've had terrible phone issues here, but that was Commissioner Bo Mason. He's the commissioner of the Utah Department of Public Safety. And I have to say this on a personal level. I've followed his career for several years, and I can't imagine a better person to be our commissioner of public safety, which is, I think, the highest position in the law enforcement community in Utah. When we're actually going to finish up our special coverage this hour by talking about this support available for the families of law enforcement officers, in the line of duty coverage continues after this.
You trust us for news and information in your car. Now trust us at home. KSL News Radio has you covered, keeping you informed on the latest breaking news, weather, traffic, sports, and more. Listen on your Amazon Echo or Google Home device. Just say, Alexa, open KSL News Radio, or listen on the KSL News Radio Listen app. Text the word app to 57500. KSL News Radio. We have you covered.
There's no doubt about it. This is the time of year when we all start focusing on that perfectly grilled steak. Now, some of us are pretty good. Some of us are just okay at doing that ourselves in the backyard. If you're really looking for that perfection in steaks, it's Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. And now with Memorial Day just around the corner, a lot of graduation parties are going on, special events, birthdays, you name it. It's time for you to make that reservation at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. Now, obviously, we talk about steaks and how wonderful they are there, but they have so much more. The seafood, the poultry dishes, the side dishes, the desserts, and it's served to perfection. We have 2 locations. There's Ruth's Chris Steakhouse in Hotel Park City, and also Ruth's Chris Steakhouse in the heart of downtown Salt Lake City at 275 Southwest Temple. It's the perfect steak, and it's waiting for you now at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse.
If the world were like a Sleep Number mattress, everything would adapt for your comfort. Because as your life changes and your body changes, Sleep Number mattresses adapt and shift to give you personalized comfort night after night. And now everything's on sale during our Memorial Day event. Save up to $1,200 on mattresses for a limited time. To experience a whole new world of comfort, visit a Sleep Number store or go to sleepnumber.com. Sleep Number, to a good life sleep.
Join us at Camping World's Red, White, and New Trade event, our biggest trade event of the year, May 14th through the 17th. Trade in your RV and get the highest value guaranteed. Then upgrade for less with new RVs starting as low as $94 a month. Plus, take 25% off select maintenance services. Save up to 40% on camp-ready must-haves. And enter to win a new RV. Don't miss the Red, White, and New Trade event at your local Camping World, May 14th through the 17th. We'll see you there.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. Since its establishment in 1962, the Children's Center Utah has provided comprehensive mental health care to children and families, offering services tailored to each child's needs. They're making a real difference for Utah families. President and CEO Rebecca Dutson joins us with more.
At the Children's Center Utah, we focus exclusively on infants, toddlers, preschoolers, and their families because these early years are critical to building a strong foundation for lifelong mental well-being. For more than 60 years, we have been Utah's only provider of trauma-informed, evidence-based mental health treatment dedicated to this age group and their families. Our outpatient services help children facing social, emotional, and behavioral challenges, including those who have experienced trauma. We walk alongside families during some of their most difficult moments, helping children heal, connect, and thrive. We're committed to strengthening infant and early childhood mental health statewide through cost-free webinars and consultations for healthcare and early childhood professionals, ensuring more children and families throughout Utah receive support. As the need for early childhood mental health care grows, we're excited to share that we are expanding services to Utah County with a new location opening in Lehi in July 2026.
The Children's Center Utah continues to help children and families heal, grow, and thrive. Learn more about their services at childrenscenterutah.org. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
Getting help with plumbing repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Let me ask you a question. You have a best friend? How big would it shock you if somebody told you that your best friend just killed somebody?
911, what's your emergency? Well, someone on the other line said they kidnapped my son and they're demanding $500,000.
I've asked myself so many times, what in the world happened?
Ransom is available now. Listen at ransompodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Inside Sources.
This past hour, we've been diving into issues and support for our law enforcement officers.
And it comes ahead of the National Law Enforcement Memorial Vigil tonight in Washington, D.C., where the names of fallen officers over the last year will be added to the memorial.
Sadly, this year, two Utahns will be added. Tremont and Garland police officers Eric Estrada and Sergeant Lee Sorensen will be added to that memorial this evening.
And then a question that I've had even from before today's show, right, all the way back to last summer when we lost those officers, is what kind of support is available for the families? Because this is a lifelong impact for sure.
Well, let's talk to Pat Evans. Pat is a captain with the Draper Police Department and a member of the Utah chapter of COPS, which stands for Concerns of Police Survivors.
COPS.
COPS. What a great agency. Pat, thanks for joining us again here on KSL.
Thank you.
So, Pat, can you just start by telling us maybe what happens like the day of? So when the two officers in Box Elder, when they were gunned down, what immediately went into place?
So our COPS board and some of our surviving spouses in Utah actually went up to the agency and went up to the homes of both Lee Sorensen and Eric Estrada. And we like to put spouses with those surviving spouses, as they're really the only people that understand what they're going through. And the same happens on the coworker side. There's coworkers like me that have experienced line of duty death, and we get with the department, we meet with them. We're just there for them. And then the best part about Concerns of Police Survivors is we're there for life. We don't go away.
Are you sometimes, Captain Evans, the person that tells the spouse the bad news? And that's got to be awful.
No. We're survivor support. Oftentimes that is done by the lead of the agency or by a peer support member.
Okay.
So tell us then, so that's day of, you've got somebody there, maybe you get through the funeral. What does ongoing support look like maybe in the first year?
So the first year, we go to a lot of the first year events, like the memorial services, the different events in the cities, and we're just there for them. And you have surviving parents that come, you have surviving siblings that come, and they join those family members and are just there to lean on, essentially. We also host a Blue Line Gala, or a blue, black and blue gala, where we invite them and honor their heroes. And so it's awesome. It's awesome support. And I don't say that because I'm part of it. I say it because the COPS organization is a national organization. We're the Utah chapter. They have retreats on weekends throughout the year for different survivorships. So you have a coworker survivorship or coworkers retreat, spouses retreat, parents retreat, and so on.
And victims, family members of fallen officers deal with these things in different ways. Pat, I assume that is sometimes they want to be involved, sometimes they want to be engaged, sometimes they want to meet with other surviving spouses, and sometimes maybe they just want to be left alone. I suppose whatever their choice is, you support those decisions and try to counsel them and make sure that they have the support that they need.
Absolutely, you're 100% correct, and we always respect the wishes of the family.
So can I ask you about support for children? What does that look like from your organization, maybe as they're moving through, say they're younger, right, not out of high school yet?
So tomorrow morning, we have one of our surviving kids or two of our surviving kids going to Quantico. So they get to go on special COPS, we call them kid camps. And one day this week, they're going to Quantico. They'll get spoiled. They'll get to make stuffed animals, do all kinds of fun stuff. But really, again, they're with kids that have gone through the same thing they have. And then later this week, they'll get to go to a training center, a law enforcement training center. I think it's in Virginia. And they get taken really good care of. Long term, from ages 6 to 14, COPS has a kids camp every year. I've been lucky enough to go and be a mentor there. It's a heavy week, but the kids, they get much needed support and relief from people that are going through the same thing they are. After that age, we have a young adults camp that goes till 22, and that it does the same thing, and it just brings them together, and they're with people that understand what they're going through.
Is COPS a statewide group, Captain Evans? That is, I mean, Tremont and Garland seems fairly remote and fairly rural, but I mean, would the same benefits have been available to, say, a Wayne County sheriff or somebody like that? And if so, how are you all notified? Is it by their chief?
Yeah, oftentimes we're notified by either the FOP or somebody in their agency or a surrounding agency that's aware of our organization, because not all. In fact, a lot of police officers don't even know about COPS or police agencies until they need them, meaning COPS, the COPS organization. And so we get notified pretty quickly, and we use some of our partners that are chiefs that are aware of us to get us in the door.
So,
and yes, to answer your question, yes, statewide.
Good.
So I have a question about maybe officers who were not killed in the line of duty. Maybe they were injured, or is there ongoing support for officers that are still alive?
So there are different organizations that help with such things like the FOP and whatnot. Our organization is specifically for concerns or those survivors of line of duty death. We do have a sister organization that is called SBS. It's Survivors of Blue Suicide. And so there's a support group there for them as well.
Oh, that's powerful. I do have a follow-up then, and my question is, how do members of the public, is there a way for us to support you? Can we go to the gala? Like, is there a way that we can do additional things to support these families?
We are nonprofit, and we're all volunteers, so we always could use funding. And the best way to either sign up to volunteer, or if anybody wants to make a donation, you can go to our website. It's called utahcops.org.
This year, Captain Evans, we added 2 names to the Utah Fallen Officers, and you hope, obviously, that there are years when we don't have names added, but that had to be tough, especially 2 from the same department, 2 who were friends, 2 from a small community. I mean, that's got to really put your agency, your group, at I don't know, at a heightened level. I don't know how else to describe it, but this one had to be really tough.
It is tough, and you see as an outsider, you see the struggles of not only 1 but 2 officers, and it's a small agency. Yeah, it's very impactful, and of course they send more people. Box Elder County Sheriff's Office has, I think, 10 deputies here, and then you have a majority of the Tremont and Garland Police Department here, and so there's a lot to navigate, but there's a lot of great people back here. There's 6,000 survivors registered this year for Police Week. Those are 6,000 family members and coworkers of fallen officers. So there are a lot of volunteers back here. And I will tell you, we should be proud. I see more Utah volunteers back here, not with just cops, with the Fraternal Order of Police, the FOP Auxiliary, and they're doing great things to help these survivors.
So can I ask you then to just talk a little bit about this police week? So I know that the memorial, placing the names on the memorial, happens later tonight. What happens during this whole week while you're back in D.C.?
So tonight is a candlelight vigil at the National Mall. They'll read the current year survivors and some historical names of fallen heroes that have been lost. Tonight is a beautiful event. It's on the National Mall, and thousands attend, and the families are given a great treatment, royal treatment, really. There's honor guards from all over the country, mounted police officers, hundreds of them. It's a beautiful sight to see, and it's a great tribute to our fallen. Later this week, on Friday the 15th, that's the actual memorial service at the United States Capitol. And typically the president or vice president attends, and a lot of people pay tribute to these families for their loss. During the days in between, our organization actually has a survivors conference for these survivors to go to, different critical incident stress debriefs, different classes that may help them navigate through their new, what we call their new normal. So there's a lot for them to do.
All right. Thanks so much, Pat. That was Pat Evans, captain of Draper Police Department, a member of COPS, Concerns of Police Survivors. We've been following the Corey Richins sentencing. She's actually supposed to speak for the first time since her trial began. That will come up. Well, it didn't finish in time for our show, but I'm sure that we'll hear more about that during Utah's Noon News, which is coming up next.
KSL